3 minutes to pre-roll.
Don't fall off that, dude.
That's why I put it over here, because there's a lady right here, and if I did, I'd fall on her, you know?
That would be bad.
Yeah.
That's Lauren. She's always there. Do you want to remove the chair, dude? Or just stand?
Yeah,
I'm
honestly.
You can bring the chair over here or something. You got 4 minutes to figure it out.
I got it.
Two minutes to pre-roll.
Check 'em.
Three is here.
We're swapping camera two's chair so he's more comfortable.
Check 'em. I don't know.
Okay, you got, at least according to the countdown, you got about a minute and a half before the video starts, so it'll probably get darker in there.
It's 6 right now. Do I change it yet or just leave it?
One minute to pre-roll.
Is that chair better?
Dude, it's so nice. You would like it too, because, you know, that one gets uncomfortable, I feel like.
30 seconds
This is
to
cool,
pre-roll.
because, you know, you're standing.
Okay. Be
There's
careful.
another one of them on stage. I'm not sure if the stage camera people use it, but
Oh,
grab
yeah,
it from
yeah, I've
upstairs.
seen it up there too.
Thanks, Justin.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Eight, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and go for pre-roll.
Okay, so just a reminder, cameras, it starts with Marion introing the room. She's all the way on house right. So 1 and 2, feel free to pick her up. She starts singing fairly soon after, so 4 if you have a shot of the piano. Prior to that, I will try to take it. Probably be fairly quick.
Minute 30 left in pre-roll.
Hey, Najee.
Yep.
I think it's about time to face the music, man. I gotta get rid of these headphones.
You want some different ones?
I love these things, though, man. You see the way they look? Look at them.
It's time to part ways, Melvin. Time to part ways.
I can't.
Time to part ways.
These things, bro.
1 minute left.
Okay, on 5 is intro.
That
2 left for Marion.
lobby music still going, or that youth? Oh, oh, oh.
35 seconds. Up first is Yahweh. We'll start in unison and go to Marian for verse 1.
Those lights on already.
Ten, 9,
You're already
8,
watching, guys.
7, 6,
Wash.
5,
Wash.
4,
Wash one.
3, 2, and go for Yahweh.
On the one.
Going to 2.
We all here today. Please stand up to worship the Lord.
Going to 4. Ready, 2. Going to 2. Yeah, you can pull out 2. It's fine. Slow.
One more time.
Okay, 1. Can you go back in on Marion? Because she's solo for a bit. Ready, 3. Going to 3.
There you go.
Ready, 1.
Verse.
Going to 1. Ready, 4. Going to 4. 4. Ready, 1. Going to 1. Ready, 2. Going to 2. Ready, 3. Going to 3 now. Ready, 4. Going to 4 now. Ready, 1. Going to 1. Ready, 5. Going to 5 now. Ready,
Back to Marian for verse 2.
2. I need Marion. Going to 1. Ready, 4. 4. Ready, 3. Going to 3. Ready, 2. Going to 2 now. Ready, 1. Going to 1. Ready, 4. Ready, 3. Going to 3 now. Ready, 2. Going to 2. Ready, 1. Going to 1. Ready, 5. Going to 5.
Studio 2, Dustin.
Ready, 4. Going to
So
4.
Jessica changed her mic to
Ready, 3.
H6.
Going to 3 now.
Cover down.
Ready, 1. Going to 1.
No, that's okay. I'll just have it as it is.
Ready, 4.
We're on 6 then.
Ready, 2. Going to 2.
Justin.com.
Going to 1 now. Going to 3. Going to 3 now. Ready, 4. Going to 4 now. Ready, 1. Going to 1. Ready, 5. Going to 5. Ready, 2. Going to 2. 2.
Up.
Faster, 2. Faster. There you go.
Jessica, you grabbed the wrong mic. I'm gonna bring the other one out to you.
Ready, 3. Going to 3 now.
Say it one more time, please.
Ready, 4. Going to 4 now. Ready, 1. Going to 1. Ready, 5. Going to 5 now.
Up.
Ready, 3. Going to 3 now.
Break.
Ready, 4. Going to 4. Ready, 1. Going to 1. Ready, 2. Going to 2. Going to 2.
6.
Ready, 5.
5, 4, 3.
Ready, 3. Going to 3 now.
4.
Ready, 1. Going to 1.
Up.
Ready, 2. Going to 2. Ready, 4. Going to 4. Ready, 2. Going to 2. 2. Oh, there's just a. Ready, 1.
Get
Going
a
to 1.
6.
Ready, 5. Going to 5.
5, 4, 3.
Ready, 3. Going to 3 now.
4.
Ready,
Up.
2. Going to 2.
Down.
Ready, 1. Going to 1. Going to 2. Going to 5. I need Marion. So, going to 1.
Behold
Next song up is Jessica. She's second from the left. 2, can you get Jessica? Get ready.
2, 3.
Second from the left. 2. There you go. Ready, 5, going to 5. Ready, 4, going to 4 now. Yeah, just stick close to her too until they switch. Ready, 3, going to 3.
Tag.
Ready, 1,
Come on,
going
slow.
to 1.
2. So, 5.
Ready, 5,
Up,
going to 5.
6.
Ready, 4, going to 4.
7. Right here.
Ready, 3, going to 3.
1. So, fire.
Up next is Shall Not
Go back
Want,
to-
and Jessica will be on verse 1.
Going to 2. Going to 4. Ready, 2. Going to 2.
When I cannot see, when I can't take another step,
Ready, 3. Can you turn brightness down a little bit, 3? Then I can take that. Ready, 3. Going to 3 now.
will you set me a table in the presence
Ready, 1. Going to 1.
I shall not want,
Ready, 2. Going to,
I
actually going to
shall
4.
not want.
Going to back to 2. 2.
Oh, my son got a shepherd in the valley, and I shall not want.
Ready,
I
5.
shall not
Going to 5.
I shall not want, 'cause my cup's running over, and
Ready,
I
1.
shall
Everyone comes in for
1
verse
to
2.
5. Right.
4. 4. Ready, 2. Going to 2. Okay, you can start movement now. Ready, 1. Going to 1. Yep, slow. Ready, 3. Going to 3. Ready, 4. Going to 4. Ready, 2. Going to 2. Ready, 1. Going to 1 now.
4th.
Ready, 2. Going to 2 now. Going to 4. Going to 4 now. Ready, 3. Going to 3. Ready, 2. Going to 2.
Pat,
Ready, 1.
Pat, come
Going
to
to
1
1.
more working.
Just lost you 4. Ready, 5. Going to 5. You're back. Ready, 2. Going to 2. Going to 1. Ready, 4. Going to 4 now.
6, 1.
Ready,
Do it again.
3. Going to 3 now. Ready, 1. Going to 1 now. Ready, 2. Yep, keep going 2. We're going 2 now.
Real
Go
big.
slow.
6, 1.
Not quite so fast. Sorry, 2. Ready, 1. Going to 1. Ready, 3. Going to 3. Back to 1. Going 2. Slow, a little slower 2. Going 2, 2. Ready, 5. Going to 5 now. Ready, 1. Going to 1 now. Like that 1. Yep, keep going 1.
I got goodness.
Ready, 3. Going to 3 now. Ready, 2. Going to 2 now. Ready, 4. Going to 4 now. Ready, 3. Going to 3 now. Ready, 1. Going to 1. Ready, 2. Going to 2 now. Ready, 5. Going to 5.
Building in.
Ready, 1. Going
Going
to
up.
1 now.
Up a half.
Ready, 2. Going to 3. Ready, 2. Going to 2 now. Ready, 4. Going to 4. Just ready, 1. Go to 1. Ready, 2. Going to 2. Let's go 2. Ready, 4. Going to 4 now.
Up.
Ready, 1. Going to 1. Ready, 4. 3. Going to, actually go to 3. Ready, 2. Going to 2. Ready, 1. Going to 1 now. Ready, 5. Going to 5.
Building 6.
Ready, 2. Going to
7, 1.
2. Ready, 1. Going to 1 now.
6, up.
Ready, 2. Going
4,
to 2.
up.
Ready,
1
4,
and
4 now.
2. 6 1
Ready,
out.
1, going to 1. Ready, 2, going to 2. Ready. 5, going to 5. Ready, 3, going to 3. Ready, 1, going to 1
6
now.
1.
Ready, 4, going to 4 now.
6
Ready, 1, going to 1.
again.
Ready, 3, going to 3 now. Sorry, too, I'm not going to take individual shots like that if I can't really hear them too well. So, 1, going to 1. Unless it's like a whole group saying, ready, 5, going to 5. Ready, 4, going to 4 now. Going to 1, going to 1.
Up next is going to be the weekend update.
Watch the weekend update. 2, stay on Jessica for me. She's
On
going
the
to do the
6.
weekend update. Ready,
Right
4,
here.
going 4. No, 2, Jessica.
Keep it up on the 1. 12. Up,
Going
up,
to 2.
up, up, up,
Going to 2.
up, 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 up. Down, down.
Oh, thank you, Jesus. Thank you so much for worshiping with us today. Just check the next video.
Go for video.
Father's House, welcome to another edition of the Weekend Update. My name is Pastor Josh.
My name is Carlos.
It is so great to have you back at the Weekend Update
Yes.
desk. Church,
Yes.
we're so excited about all the things happening.
Nice
to
job,
make
everyone.
Your week here at the church even more exciting. Like Carlos, how's it starting?
It's starting off with First Wednesday. First Wednesday, May 4th. So May the 4th be with you. After you celebrate May the 4th be with you, go get yourself a free comic at a comic book shop. It's also, free comic book day. Then when you're done with that, finish May the 4th be with you with us here first Wednesday at 7 o'clock. It's going to be
Should've said
amazing.
May the
And
1st
I'm so
be with
excited.
you.
See you
May
there.
the 1st
And we
Wednesday
are
be with
1 week out from our Mother's Day celebration here at the Father's House. Always a special time celebrating all the special women in our lives. So make sure you make it a point to bring
3 minutes
Mom
remaining
church
in the
with you
video.
next Sunday, 9 and 11. Also, there's still time, dads, husbands, sons, daughters, and hey, even boyfriends, for purchasing a gift for your mom on Mother's Day. Do not forget, we've got some supply chain
Are there
issues,
mics live?
so get the orders in early. We're just trying to help you out as best we can here on the Weekend Update desk. But church, we are in the middle of a Psalms series. It is just an excellent series where we get to
Front
study
line, 'cause I'm
the book
hearing them. I'm
of
gonna make sure
Psalms
it's not
and
going to
all that
stream.
it has to offer. For more context on this series, check out this video.
Hey,
Hey, we still got about
Frontline, if
The
you
Psalms
could-
are
over
a
2
very
minutes left
unique
on the video.
section of the Bible. Rather than being a
Mute
single
whose
book
mics?
of literature, it's a collection
Got
of
it.
over 150 songs and poems composed over the span of 1,000 years. Some chapters reflect the lives of people living in thriving monarchies, while other chapters were written centuries later during times of exile and persecution. We read honest prayers of
2
petition,
minutes left in the video.
praise, prophecy, pain. It really is an expression of what it means to be human. Let's take a look. Psalm 38 says, I am bent over and racked with pain. All day long, I walk around filled with grief. Psalm 91, this I declare about the Lord. He
How's the video
alone
being a kid?
is my
We'll
refuge,
do,
my place of safety.
a little bit more
He
of a
is my God, and I
happier,
trust
that
him.
groove, so
In
like
Psalm
4,
40, I
3,
waited patiently for the Lord to
6,
help me. And he
5.
turned to me and heard my cry.
That's what we're
He
going for.
lifted me out of the pit of despair. But we should understand that the Psalms aren't just chapters in our Bibles. They are very real works of art, which served a variety of purposes during their time. The evidence for this is right in our Bibles. More than 2/3 of the Psalms have a notation at the beginning. For example, the beginning of Psalms 4 states,
1
"For the
minute
director
left.
of music
1
with
minute
stringed
video.
instruments, a psalm of David." Psalm 92
look for
describes
Jenny and
itself
Carolyn
as a psalm
coming out.
for the Sabbath day. Psalm 45 tells the reader that it should be set to the tune of lilies, that it was written by the sons of Korah.
Up
and it
next,
was
we are looking
originally
for
meant to
Jenny
be
and
used
Carolyn
as a
for
wedding
the
song.
welcome and
And
giving
in
moments.
English Bibles, these
This weekend
unnumbered
update video
hymns
does
are
end
unique to the
abruptly,
Psalms,
so they
and
should be
remain
on
in the
stage
text,
before it
giving
is
us
over.
an eye into the lives and practices of our ancient ancestors. As much as we would love to experience these songs with their original melodies and
20 seconds
musical
remain.
compositions, these
1 and
details
2.
unfortunately have been lost to history.
Remember, 1, get the
But
2 shot.
what
2,
hasn't
follow
been
the active
lost
speaker,
are
please.
the words. Although
10
these
seconds in
words
video.
are ancient, they
7,
have deep
6,
meaning for us and
5,
are relevant to how we
4,
live our lives.
3,
So let's
One,
jump in.
two,
2,
closer.
1,
E,
and
M.
go for welcome.
Well, good
Going to
morning,
one.
church.
1, 2,
As we saw in our
3
video,
on the 4,
Mother's Day is right around the corner.
3,
If you are a woman in this room or
6,
online,
7,
can you give us some noise real
5.
quick?
Can we make
Woo!
a bigger groove? 4.
We are so
3,
excited to have you guys here with
6,
us this
7,
Sunday. And no matter
5,
if you are in the room, if you're joining us
4.
online, our Monroe and Albion extensions, we are so excited and so happy to have you here with us. My name is Jenny. I'm the serve pastor here at the Father's House. And this is my dear friend, Carolyn.
Hello, everybody. I am actually new on staff here. I am the spiritual formation administrator. So what does that mean? I actually support and
Drop it
serve
down a little bit,
Pastor
y'all.
Carrie.
And we are so thankful that you're here with
Ready, 2,
us.
going to 2.
Yeah, let's give you a round of applause real quick.
Going to 1.
3, 6.
And if you guys are new
Hey Nate, can you just have
or newer,
2 check their
there
focus because
are
they're getting the lines on the screen.
opportunities for you
2,
to
you see
get
those
engaged,
little
and we
lines
just
in your
want to
screen
have a
and
conversation
on
with you
the
and
digital
get to
screen
know
behind her?
who
Just
you
adjust
are.
your focus
So
a
you can
little
go
bit
out to
so
our
those go
welcome
away.
lounge
There you go.
after service.
Ready,
It's
2.
right in front of our playground, and you'll see connectors
Thanks.
either wearing a blue shirt or a
That's just something that
TFH
drives them
lanyard,
nuts.
And we
1,
would
2,
love
so
to
just
connect
keep
with
an eye
you.
out
And
for
the
it.
fun part is, if you fill out a card, this woman over here
Going to 1.
will be contacting you throughout the week. So we are so thankful to just have you here with us on staff. And I believe you have something on your heart about giving for today.
4.
I do.
3,
So
5.
for
5,
me, giving and tithing and generation,
4,
generosity
3,
is an extension
on the
of my
5,
worship and relationship with
6,
God. And I feel that
4,
God challenges us
3,
to give, to be generous.
5,
Because there is something that
6,
keeps
Nate, you might have to split the difference ever so slightly because the subject is a little soft now. So.
5,
It's Acts chapter
on the
4,
6,
I know it's really minute adjustments. So.
Very small adjustment to see if you can get her just a little bit more clear without getting the lines back. It's very going to be very slight
So the
adjustment.
beautiful thing in that for me is that they didn't have to
Ready,
get
2.
to give.
Going back to 2.
God was asking them, or what they did is that they gave from what they already had, what was already in their hand. So for those of you that already give and you
6,
partner with the Father's House, we
4,
thank you for that.
3,
and if this is your first time here at the Father's
5,
House, you're not obligated
6,
to give. But for those of you who
4,
call the Father's House your
3,
home, you've been coming
5,
week after week,
6,
and you haven't given yet.
4,
My challenge to you,
3,
God's challenge to you, is what
5,
do you have in your hand?
6,
What do you already
4,
have to give?
3,
And give. And Jenny
5,
is going to help us. How do we do that?
Yes, so there's many different ways that you guys can give. We have giving kiosk on the side of the auditoriums, out in the lobby.
Staying on one with
or
the
if you're
banner
more
ups.
online or you're tuning in from online, we have Venmo, Apple Pay, Google Pay.
Hold on, y'all.
And I personally love to give
4,
through reoccurring. That way I don't
3,
have to remember every week. I don't have to
5,
wrestle with myself every week.
6,
And it's already commitment that I have
4,
locked in and just automatically plays out from week to week to week.
6,
But church, would you bow your
4,
heads with me as
3,
we go back into
5,
worship?
hold it, click, 5,
God, I just
5, hold it,
thank
5.
you that you are here with us today, and that we,
Up
like
next
Aaron said,
is
we don't have to
going back
do
into
it.
worship with
Six,
Saying God.
That
Lori
you
will be on verse 1 and 2.
place treasures in our hands, Father, and that it is an opportunity and a blessing and an honor to give back to you. in
5
ways
for
that we
transition.
can.
1,
In Jesus' name.
1.
5.
And go for worship.
Look for Lori coming out to lead. Ready, 2, 1. Going to 1. Going to 4. Going to 4. Ready, 2. Going to 2.
Megan, your
1.
mic's
Can
still
you
off.
go in tight on her and put her on the left side, please? Even tighter. Just her, 2. 1. Sorry. Ready, 1. Going to 1. Fade in 1. 1's in. Ready, 3. Going to fade in 3. I don't think he's really playing much for. Ready, 2. Going to 2. Going to 2. Ready, 4. Going to 4.
Verse 3 and 4 will be Mark.
1, go to get Mark. Oh, sorry, they called it. Going to 2. Sorry, 1. He is going to do the next verse, though. So, ready, 3. Going to 3 now. Ready, 1. Going to 1. Ready, 2. Going to 2 now. Ready, 4. Going to 4 now. Ready, 1 on mark. Single. Going to 1. Ready, 3. Meeting in 3. Ready, 2. Going to 2 now. 2's in. Ready, 4. Going to 4. Ready, 1. Actually, ready, 2. Going to 2. 1. Actually, sorry, 1. 1. Sorry, 4. Very decisive this morning. Ready, 2. Going to 2. Ready, 3. Going to 3. Ready, 4. Going to 4 now. Okay, ready, 5. Going to 5. Start picking up the movement speed. Ready, 1. Going to 1. Ready, 2. Going to 2 now. 2. Ready, 4. Going to 4 now. We just lost audio feed up here. Ready, 3. Going to 3. Ready, 2. Going to 2 now.
I have no sound up here.
Going to 1.
Copy.
Ready, 2. Going to 2. Ready, 4. Going to 4 now. 1. Going to 1. Going to 2. Going to 2 now. Ready, 4. Going to 4 now. Going to 1. Going to 1. Going to 4 now.
Lori should be on the bridge.
Going to 1.
2. It's back.
Going to 4.
You heard your children, then you hear
2. Slowly drift her over to the, or actually 1. Slowly
Is it
drift
back?
her to the right.
Yes.
Copy. I don't know how I got muted, but I got muted.
2. Go fading 2.
It's weird because it seemed like it cut out, like it was abrupt and
Panel just went
staticky.
out.
You are the same God. You are the same God. You
Sorry.
are providing them. You
Hey Justin, the panel just went out and then came back and was stuck. Copy. Ready, 2. Going to 2 now.
Joanne, I'm going to try something again, see if it goes out, because I want to try and figure out what happens.
Ready, 4. Going to 4 now. Ready, 1. Going to 1. Ready, 2. Going to 2. No, stay out 2. Ready, 2. Going to 2 now. Ready, 3. Going to 3 now. Ready, 4. Going to 4 now. Ready, 5. Going to 5 now. Love that 5. Ready, 1. Going to 1 now. Ready, 3. Going to 3 now. Ready, 2. Going to 2 now. Ready, 1 now. Ready, 5. Going to 5. Ready, 3. Going to 3. Ready, 2. Going to 2. Ready, 1. Going to 1. Ready, 4. Going to 4. Ready, 5. Going to 5.
There was a loud pop right now out of my other computer.
Ready, 5. Going to 5.
Say again.
3. Going to 3. Ready, 1.
There was a loud pop that came out of the graphics 3.
4. Going to 4 now. Gotcha. 5. Going to 5. Ready, 1. Going to 1. Ready, 2. Going to 2. Ready, 3. Going to 3. Ready, 4. Going to 4 now. Ready, 1. Go to 1. Ready, 2. Going to 2. Ready, 4. Going to 4 now. Ready, 1. Going to 1 now. Yep, keep it going. Ready, 5. Going to 5 now. Ready, 3. Going to 3. Ready, 2. Going to 2 now. Ready, 4. Going to 4 now. Ready, 1. Going to 1. Ready, 5. Going
Putting
to 5.
through, put it.
Ready, 2. Going to 1. Going to 1.
Big one.
Ready, 4. Going to 4 now. Ready, 2. Going to 2. Ready, 1. Going to 1. Ready, 4. Going to 4 now. Sorry, 4. Ready, 1. Going
Down.
to 1 now.
Up next, we'll be going into
Oh,
How
no,
Great.
Looking for
Megan
Megan.
will be starting.
2. Can you find Megan? She's all the way on the left.
One.
This 4. Ready for piano? I think there's a piano on this one. Ready?
You are 4.
Or not. Going to 2. I guess they cut that this time.
How great you
Ready? 3. Going to 3 now. 3. 3.
My God, how great you are.
Ready? 4. Going to 4
Come on
now.
now, Pat.
Ready? 2. Going to 2. One. Ready? 4. Going to 4 now. Ready? 2. Going to 2. Ready? 1. Going to 1. Ready? 4. Going to 4 now.
Good.
Ready? 3. Going to 3. Ready? 1. Going to 1. Picking it up. Ready? 2. Going to 2 now. Ready? 4. Going to 4. Ready? 5. Going to 5. Ready? 2. Going to 2 now. Ready? 1. Going to 1. Ready? 4. Going to 4. Ready? 5. Going to 5. Ready? 1. Going to 1. Ready? 3.
Course again.
Sorry, 2 is just too dark there.
Ready.
Ready? 3. Going to 3. Ready? 5. Going to 5 now. Going to 1. Ready? 4.
Forward
Going
jump.
to 4 now. Ready? 3. Going to 3.
Hey, Pat, can I have a little more track down all over?
2. Ready? 1.
Building through. 1.
1 now.
Get a brakes.
Ready? 4. Going to 4 now.
4 and
Ready? 3. Going to 3. Ready? 1. Going to 1. Ready? 5. Going to 5. Ready? 4. Going to 4. Ready? 3. Going to 3. Ready? 2. Going to 2. Ready? 5. Going to 5. Ready? 1. Going to 1. Ready? 3. Going to 3. Ready? 2. Going to 2. Ready? 5. Going to 5. Ready? 1. Going to 1. Ready? 4. Going to 4 now. Ready? 3. Going to 3 now. Ready? 2. Going to actually go to 1. Ready? 5. Going to 5. Ready? 2. Going to 2 now. Ready? 4. Going to 4 now. Ready? 1. Going to 1. Ready? 5. Going to 5. Ready? 2. Going to 2. Ready? 3. Going to 3. Ready? 1. Going to 1. Ready? 5. Going to 5. Ready? 2. Going to 2.
tag.
4. 4. Ready? 3. Going to 3. Ready? 5. Going to 5.
7.
Ready? 1. Going to 1. Ready? 2. Going to 2.
4.
Ready? 4. Going to 4. Ready? 3.
Lie down.
3.
4.
Ready? 1. Going to 1. Ready? 5. Going to 5. 2. Look for Eddie. He's going to be on the next transition.
4.
Ready? 5. Going to 1.
How great you are.
Okay, after this, it transitions to Eddie. So, yeah, staying close on him, 2. Ready? 4. Going to 4. Close in on him, 2.
Shifting over to Mark to do the chorus.
Or, sorry, Mark, not Eddie. Ready? 2. Going to 2. Ready? 1. Not too far out. 1. Ready? 1. Ready? 2. Going to 2. Watch headroom, 2. Ready? 4. Going to 4 now. 2. Can you just put him up on your screen a little bit more? There you go. Ready? 2. Going to 2. Ready? 3. Actually, going to 1. I like the hands. Ready? 1.
2. Come on.
Ready? 2. 3. Going to 3 now.
Hey, buddy.
Ready? 5.
Meridian.
Going to 5
1.
now.
3. 4.
Ready?
Other half.
Going to 4 now.
Up.
Ready? 3. Going to 3 now. Ready? 2. Going to 2.
2.
Ready? 1. Going to 1.
5. 4. 3.
4.
6.
4 now.
2. 5.
3. Going to 3. Ready? 2. Going to 2. Ready? 1. Going to 1. Ready? 5. Going to 5. Ready? 1. Going to 1.
Tagging it. 2.
Ready?
1.
3.
Tag 7.
4. Going to 4.
3. 6. 1 down.
Ready, 2. Going 2. Ready, 1. Going to 1.
2. Right here.
Ready, 5. Going to 5. Ready,
So
4.
on the 1.
Going to 4.
So.
Okay, up next is going to be Josh. We'll be looking for
Josh.
him.
Give me click, Ryan.
5.
Give me click. Give me click. 1.
Sorry,
1.
they ended 40 seconds early.
So.
Ready, 2.
Come on, church, who's happy to be
1.
in the house of God this morning? Man, we want to thank our worship team. Thank you guys so much. That was amazing. You guys can find your seats, air high five someone as you go down, or if you know them, I guess you can high five and that sort of thing. Thank you guys. This is great.
Okay. Yeah, 1, try to stick to knees up. Going
down.
to 1, 2, go in.
All right, how we
Get
feeling
him
today?
like hips up to
Feeling good.
elbows
Online's looking good. We want to welcome everybody watching online. Thank you for joining us. Albion and Monroe. So good to have you guys here with us today. We are so excited you're a part of our community.
Ready,
We are going to get rolling
Going
here.
to 2.
We
There we
just
go.
went, my family,
Yeah.
we just went on rolling. I got wheels. Wow. Quite the pun.
We're good.
We just went on vacation, actually, which is why I have this, because I don't want to leave.
Going to 1.
We just went, and if you don't know me, we have
Ken,
3
the only other
children.
thing
Now,
to keep an
all
eye on
3
is
currently
that
are
furthest
7.
right Da Vinci on the
The oldest
truss
is
likes to
7.
flicker every now and then.
That
If it gets
already
really
probably
bad,
has
if you can just
vacation
turn
left.
off
And then we
both
got a
outside
4-year-old,
ones,
and then
that'd be
one
much
and a half-year-old,
appreciated.
and then our 1.5-year-old is very particular about where she sleeps. So it was super restful. I mean, we are just
Ready,
feeling
1.
refreshed.
When he
Just
turns back 1.
you know, so happy.
1.
So glad we got to do it with the fam. Just making memories, you know. But family
3,
vacation
if
is
you're
an
still there,
interesting
can
thing.
you put him a little bit
Especially
more
when
to
we
the
you
left?
have to drive when you have that many children. So you drive
And put him down a little bit too. He's a little.
my phone's like blowing
took
up
his
for
headset
some
out.
reason, and so it's
Okay.
very distracting. So I'm just putting it on Do Not Disturb. So my cousin almost got mugged last night, so everybody's chatting about it. Yeah, it was great.
Ready, 2.
So we go
When he
on
looks back
vacation,
towards you, 2.
and there's something about like packing for a road trip. You know what I mean?
1,
Like
2.
it is a thing because you want to make sure you travel very light. I actually got to fly down the vacation this time because I had to. So Esther and the kids drove all the way down, and I got to fly. It was awesome. I just wanted to make sure the air
Ready,
travel
3,
still
going to
works, and so I told her we have
Hey,
to do
did you say
this.
something about
It
3?
has to be
Ready,
this
1,
way.
going to 1.
No,
just
I'm just
if you
kidding. We
could
had
put
Easter Sunday.
Josh
so
on
I
3,
had to
just
go. But
move him
anyway,
over to
packing
the
for
left
trip.
a little
now
bit.
my wife is like an expert packer. She like
then
loves
move him up in
packing
the
the
screen a
car.
little
It's like
bit more,
Tetris
just-
for her. I'm more like let's just
Yeah,
get the stuff and make
that's
sure we can
good,
shut the
that's good.
doors.
I'm just trying to
and
get a
let's
little
on
bit
our
more of the
way.
audience
Like, I just
when
want
he
to get
turns
there.
that
Let's make sure
way,
the fun
I
stuff
can
is
get a
easy to
good shot
grab.
of him.
Okay, we need to make sure the switch is there so that the kids don't get
Gotcha.
distracted,
Ready, 2.
and so that
Just
nobody's
on counts.
complaining on the trip down. But packing's an interesting thing. It's almost for me. This is kind of therapeutic. Okay, it's almost like an emotional
1.
experience when you're packing
When he
like a
turns
bag
back,
this
1.
size. You got to figure out what outfits am I going to not bring. You know, am I going to be happy when I get down there with the shoes that I've chosen? Because now you have to figure out like we don't actually know what you're going to do on vacation. So the shoes you pack are super important because you can fit so much in here, and you don't want to crease your shoes. It's a whole thing. Okay, if you don't care about shoes, it is what it is. But it's a whole vibe to packing, and it actually gets very stressful, and I get super frustrated because like I'll
Handles that
pack the
again.
whole van, and then I come outside, and Esther's unpacked the whole van in order to repack it the way that she likes it, and it drives me insane. It's like, why don't you just be happy with the fact that these doors can close and let's get on our way? Because now we're wasting precious time. And then you get down, it's inevitable. You're going to forget something. It's inevitable. You haven't packed enough, or if you're anything like me, you overpack, and you're like, why did I pack so many shirts? We're here for 4 days, and I've packed for like 8. Like, why did I do this? So then you have to wear 2 outfits a day. It's a real struggle. But it's a real thing. Now, what's interesting about this is that you and I are actually currently, right now, in this moment, carrying around baggage. Now today, you've maybe neatly packaged it. You know what I mean? Because you had to come to church today. So like you've neatly, like this is actually, my son has the nicest suitcase in the family. So this is actually his carry-on because he's young and we want his baggage to look good at a young age, okay? So it looks pristine. It rolls real nice. He can lock it, which I didn't know he knew how to do, but he does. So this morning I put it in the car. He's like, just so you know, Dad, it's locked. Here's the code. I'm like, you were 7. Stop.
And so, but this is his. It's got a little cup holder just in case you, because you got to make yourself comfortable with your baggage. You know what I'm saying? So you got to get a cup holder. I mean, this thing's got the 360 wheels. Literally, he's got the nicest bag in the family, does he not? I think the rest of ours, my brother bought me mine like 20 years ago, and then we've got your parents. We're killing it in the travel game. So my son's got the nicest bag, but each and every one of us currently is carrying around baggage. Like you have some.
And a little bit
like
closer.
there are
So watch
things
watch
in your
headroom,
life
too.
right now that
Try to match-
if I keep
try to
talking
match
like
the
this,
headroom
you're
to
going to
what
start to
one
stress
has.
out. Like it is the stuff that just eats
Bump it up a
away
little bit.
at your well-being. It is the stuff that you just carry around and you don't know like how in the world you're going to deal with it. Like have you ever thought to yourself, how can I find relief from this stress? Like how in the world am I ever going to find relief from the baggage that I'm carrying around with me all of the time?
Okay.
Now, there's certain
Just
things
let me
about
know,
our
too.
culture
Let me know if you want to do
where
adjustments like that, and I'll
if
switch
I
options.
say certain things, it will instantly polarize a room, right? Like there's just things we can talk about. Like even now, if I say Twitter, like it will split a room. You're like, and it's actually incredible. First of all, Twitter's always been a cesspool, but now it's like we have people who love Twitter and people who hate Twitter. Let's just all hate it together and we'll be happy, okay? We'll be a much happier place. Anyway, if I say Twitter, splits a room. If we say if I say nationalism, we'll split a room. If we talk about things like climate change, you'll split a room. If we say the 2020 election, you'll split a room. If we say Democrat, we say Republican, rooms are split. If we say Florida, for whatever reason, if we say Florida, it will split a room. Like, there are certain things. Now, if I say cats, like everybody hates them, and that's where we come back on the same page, is that we can all agree that they are just an odd thing that we shouldn't have in this world. So that's, if I ever want to unite a room, I just start talking about cats. And everybody's like, thank God you're not a cat person. Dog people are cute. And then there's cat people. You know what I mean? It's like that type of thing. So I'm just kidding. If you are a cat person, you are welcome here. You just have to get rid of your cats, okay? So anyway, but anyway, these are like honestly massively polarizing things right now. But what's so interesting about these topics is that you and I don't need to use our phones, right? Like you actually don't need to turn on cable news. You don't need to do that. I have friends who are trying to limit their screen time. I have friends that are getting off social media, and their lives are actually better for it. Like, I have a friend who hasn't been on Facebook in years, and he doesn't know anything. He doesn't see memes. I don't know how you live, but he doesn't see memes or anything. And he's happier. Like, he's happier than me. And I'm jealous of this person because he's not inundating himself with the outward stresses of this life. He doesn't understand how polarizing climate change can actually be because he's not on Instagram. You know what I mean? And so there's certain things in your life you can shut out. All right? That's great. That's excellent. But what about those things that are just kind of a part of who you are? You know, those like things you literally can't avoid. The baggage that you carry around that it feels like there's nothing you can do about the fact that it's there. It's just with you. I'm talking about things like financial problems. I'm talking about things like marital struggles. Those things that will so easily rip your family apart, and it feels like there's nothing you can do about it. I'm talking about things like your addiction. That for some reason, you just say to yourself, I don't understand why I can't break this thing. It's things like the things that scare you, your fears, the things that hold you back. How about the things that you pretend like the problem doesn't even exist? Oh man, that is a comfortable place to be. It's like if I just pretend that it's not there, maybe it won't bother me. It's things like stress, anxiety, depression, those things that you kind of put in your carry-on, carry around with you, and it almost feels unavoidable. That's the type of baggage I want to talk about today. I mean, there's a place to have a conversation around things like climate change. We should probably talk about it more. There's a place to talk about current events. There's a time and a place for it. But if that's the thing that you're carrying around your baggage, man, we got to get a little bit deeper with ourselves. Because there are some unavoidable things that every single day are stressing us out. So the question you have to ask yourself is, where do I go to find relief from the stresses in life? Like, how do I find safety? Like, where do I turn? What I want to talk about today is that we can find relief. It's going to be very simple. It's going to be almost cliche. but just go with me, okay? We can find relief by finding God and finding a godly purpose, okay? Very simple. You'll remember this on Tuesday. You're going to be like, oh, yeah, find God, find relief. Perfect. All right, so to do this, we're going to talk about a character in the Bible. He's a guy named David. We're in a series called Psalms. David wrote a ton of the Psalms. The songs that we see in that book of the Bible, David wrote many of them. Now, David was actually an unlikely king.
Can we go in just a little bit closer so there's not as much space around the sides of him?
Out of a crowd to be king.
Yep,
certainly not his family. Because here's what
maybe
went down.
back it
so
out a little
the
bit so we can see
Israelites,
the top of the
they're
case,
in the
but
promised land.
That's like, yeah,
and they
like right
start
there, that's
to
good.
basically
Just
mingle
not so
with
they're
other
not
nations.
quite as
They
much
realize
space
every
inside.
nation has a king.
Going away.
And now God was their king. They were the people of God. They would listen to God. It would get awkward at times. It would get difficult at times because they would have one guy that would hear from God and then tell the people. And it just got complicated at times, but they had everything they needed. The difference was they looked different than every other country. There was things that were not the same about the Israelites. And so one day they go to Samuel, and they're like, Samuel, give us a king like everybody else. And Samuel's like, are you sure you want to do this? And he gives them a whole bunch of reasons. You can read it in 1 Samuel, and they're like, stop it. We want a king so we can be like everybody else. So Samuel's like, okay. And then God picks Saul to be the king of the Israelites. Now, Saul's an interesting character because Saul's extremely insecure. We'll talk about this a little bit. But Saul's he's got a lot of fears that control his life. He doesn't really plan that well. There's stories of him. His soldiers are fighting, and Saul is hiding. So he'll hide before he fights. He was a guy that tended to live on his heels. He didn't live on his toes. He wasn't necessarily aggressive. The thing about Saul was that he was tall and he was handsome. He looked the part. He would have been in today's world a cultural icon just by the way he looked. You looked at him and you're like, he must be someone of influence. Isn't it interesting that the moment they decided to go towards like what the culture deems as appropriate, they start to look at what do the other kings look like in other cultures? Let's figure this thing out. Anyway, so there's Saul. Now, what ends up happening is Saul needs a successor. You'll never be a king forever. And so Samuel's the guy who God speaks to anoint the next king. And God says, you need to go to Jesse's house. Jesse's got a bunch of sons. One of them is going to be king. He's got 8 sons. Samuel goes to the house. 7 sons are in the room. And God's like, it's none of them. And Samuel's like, well, they're all here, dude. So you got to pick one. And so Samuel's like, Jesse, do you have any other sons? It seems like a ridiculous question. And Jesse's like, yeah, I've got one. He's just out in the fields. Like, he doesn't care about this stuff. And God's like, that's the guy. And this is David. Now, David is your, I guess I would call him your man's man, right? Like, he just wants to be outside. He wants to fight things. He wants to be a shepherd. Nobody even liked shepherds even then. He was like this gruff dude, but he also played the harp. Okay, so he was extremely hardworking, super creative. Like, he had that left brain, right brain down to a science. And so David comes back to the house, and that's the guy. Samuel anoints David to be king. Now, what's crazy is they did this whole thing in secret. Nobody knew that Israel was getting a new king anointed in this moment. The only people that knew are Samuel and the people in Jesse's house. This causes some severe problems. So somehow David finds himself working for Saul. Saul's got a problem where he gets super angry super fast, and the only thing that calms him down is David playing his harp. Okay, so David plays, and Saul calms down. Now, this is all going to be important. Don't worry about it. If this is a lot of information, you're learning about David. It's great. So the Israelites are fighting the Philistines.
Justin,
they got to take over. It's a whole
I don't know
thing.
if someone's messing around with the ASL camera,
at the
but it's got a menu on it.
This whole guy, you might know him as Goliath, because that was his name. Okay, David and Goliath. It's almost become folklore at this point. I promise you it's not. So Goliath comes out. They say he's probably 8 feet tall, super tall. He's gigantic. He's a beast of a human. And he's like, listen, we're going to do this in hand-to-hand combat. Okay, this fight's ridiculous. If Israelites win, Philistines become your slaves. If the Philistines win, the Israelites become our slaves. Okay, this is how this was going to go down. Nobody moved.
He's got him on.
And the Bible literally says for 40 days, Goliath would come out and he would challenge the Israelites to a fight, and nobody would do it. Saul's literally there. The king is there.
Just so you know, someone's
one
playing with the ASL
is
camera,
moving.
and there's a menu on it.
No
I
one's
can
moving.
See.
David shows up to see his brothers. His 3 oldest brothers were fighting in this war, and he goes to give them some food. And then when David's there, Goliath comes out, and David's like, "Why aren't we moving? Like, this dude's not that big. Like, what are we doing here?" And so they basically told him to quiet down. He goes to Saul. He's like, Saul, like, I'll fight him. And Saul's given up so much at this point. Now, Saul, in his mind, Saul doesn't believe David can win this fight at all. He's like, are you sure? But he's given up so much.
Thanks, Justin.
He's like, okay, whatever. Let's just give it a whirl. At this point, we may as well go back into slavery. I mean, we've had a good run. Let's let the kid go and do it. Now, what you need to know about David is while David was a shepherd, he fought a lion and he fought a bear and killed them both. Now, I don't know about you, but if you came up to me and you're like 6'6", you're 260 pounds, and you're like, you're either going to fight me or you're going to fight the lion. Who are you
can you adjust your focus just a little bit?
The person.
Back screen,
You're going to fight the guy every single time. And so David's like, I've killed a bear and a lion. This dude's going to be slow. He's tall. He's big. He can't move that fast. I'm small. I'm nimble. And I can shoot a rock like the best of them. So David, basically, it's a very boring fight. David, like, immediately kills this guy. Like, it's not even not a fight. Like, David picks up a rock. He picked up 5, only needed 1, hits him in the center of the head, cuts his head off. The whole thing is nuts. Israelites win. Now, this is where it gets crazy for David, because now the king gets jealous. Remember, Saul's always on his heels, and he's super insecure. So the moment the people start saying Saul's killed his thousands and David his 10,000s, first of all, super offensive thing to say, but they're saying it anyway. Saul is furious. Now, Saul's whole mission in life has gone from ruling the people of Israel to killing David. Now, you got to think about this. David's best friend is Saul's son. David's been working for Saul for who knows how long at this point. He just saved the nation. And now his boss and his king, the one who's supposed to protect him, is now trying to kill him. This is not good news for David. And so from 1 Samuel 18 to about 1 Samuel 31, you get documented David running basically from town to town and cave to cave, hiding for his life. Like, here is a kid who is literally, he's just got a ragtag group of people around him to protect him, and he's trying not to die. And it's in these moments where some of the Psalms are written. David hiding in caves, wondering when God is going to save him. This is the life of the early years of David. Now, David's a loyal guy. David is a courageous guy. What we're going to talk about in a few weeks, David was also a murderer and an adulterer. Crazy part of David's story, okay? He's a man after God's own heart. Like, David has basically all the tools and all the traits that you would want in a follower of Jesus. He's a man after God's own heart. He's loyal. He's courageous. He's the guy who killed Goliath. He's like a hero of the Bible. He's hiding in a cave for his life. And this is where we get much of his songs. So this is what David says, because I believe the psalm we're going to read today, they don't actually know when he wrote it, but there's certain things that he says in this psalm that I just feel like they're at least written from his time in the cave. He had to at least been thinking about it. It's Psalm 16. Now, what's interesting about this psalm, you saw in that video that they always have like subtitles. The subtitle of this one is a Miktam of David. Now, scholars don't even really know what Miktam means, but there's only like 6 to 8 psalms of the 150 that are considered Miktams of David. So they call this a golden psalm. Okay, so we're going to hear a golden psalm today. We're going to read it together. This is David writing this song to God. Keep me safe, my God, for in you I take refuge. I say to the Lord, you are my God. Apart from you, I have no good thing. I say to the holy people who are in the land, they are the noble ones in whom is all my delight. Those who run after other gods will suffer more and more. I will not pour out libations of blood to such gods, or take up their names on my lips. Lord, you are my portion and my cup. You make my lot secure. The boundary lines have fallen in pleasant places for me. Surely I have a delightful inheritance. I'll praise the Lord who counsels me. Even at night, my heart instructs me. I keep my eyes always on the Lord. With him at my right hand, I will not be shaken. Therefore, my heart is glad and my tongue rejoices. My body also will rest secure, because you will not abandon me to the realm of the dead, nor will you let your faithful one see decay. You make known to me the path of life. You fill me with joy in your presence, with eternal pleasures at your right hand. Psalm 16. Now remember, today we're going to talk about you can find relief by finding God. You can find relief by finding God. Now, the first thing we see in this psalm is that you and I will eventually, if you don't right now, we will need relief from our baggage. This is right away. David says, keep me safe, my God. You're instantly seeing emotion of danger in David's song. I'm not safe. God, I need you to make me safe. At some point, newsflash, we will need relief from our baggage. Now, here's the deal. I've got like horrible knees, okay? My knees are bad. I've torn my ACL 3 times. It's stupid. Like this knee's twice, this knee's once. It's just like unbelievable. And so what I could have done, because I'm 34 and I don't want to have surgery anymore, it's just like I'm kind of done with that. I could have just said, you know what? I don't need the surgery. I'm just gonna live my life. I'll wear braces if I'm gonna go golfing. Like I'll be fine. I don't need surgery. I probably would have been able to golf. I just would have definitely had arthritis and needed knee replacements probably by 45, I would say. But I could have lived with it. But I got surgery. Now, the surgery for an ACL is actually pretty horrible. The recovery time is like 6 to 9 months. It's treacherous. You can't walk. You're bedridden. It is not fun. And then you have to go to physical therapy. Now, what I decided to do, because I'm friends with Dr. Rob Lucky, who comes to the Father's house, he's got a physical therapy place. It's called Pittsford Performance Care. I like to call it torture. And so what he does is he set me up on this electrical shock machine. I have videos, but I think I probably swore in the video, so we can't show it in church. He sets you up on this electrical shock machine and literally turns this bad boy up, and it is like pain like you've never experienced, like because it's working all your muscles in your leg, and then he wants you to stand up. It's horribly sadistic, but he's great. And so, but you're going through all of this pain. Like, I mean, it's absolutely incredible. But if I didn't go through the pain, I would have never gotten better. Like, if I didn't go through the pain, like I can run now, I can play decent golf now, I can play basketball if I want. I don't want, but I could, you know. And so, but I had to go through the pain and get a little pain. There was a little pain. My ACL was like a major injury, but I could have lived with the pain. But now, because I went through a lot of pain, I no longer have pain. This is very simple. It's just the part of life that you need to understand. If you are injured, go to physical therapy. It's going to hurt a little bit, but you're going to get better, and it's going to be great, okay? Now, in life, you're going to go through pain, but you actually have to go through the pain. You will all need relief at some point. I will need relief at some point. David found himself in a situation that made 0 sense. He's anointed king. He works for the king. He kills Goliath, literally saves everybody. Now he's running for his life from the very guy who was supposed to protect him. This is a roller coaster of emotion, okay? There's no room for this in his brain. He shouldn't be in a cave. He shouldn't be hiding. He should be enjoying his life, anointed king. But no, he's hiding. So this roller coaster of life, it's ultimately going to lead you to places of needing relief, and there's no way around it. Now, here's what you need to understand. It is okay to not be okay. Like, it is, like, God has created us with the capacity to have emotion. Like, emotion is actually a God-given ability that you and I have. It is okay to not be okay. And sometimes, if you're not careful, you'll surround yourself with people who just tell you that you're lacking faith. Oh, the reason you're in this spot that you're in is because you don't have faith. I just want you to know that your need for relief is not a sign of a lack of faith. It's just an acknowledgement that emotions and evil are actually real. Like, bad things happen because evil is a real thing. This is why bad things happen to good people, because evil is real. Okay? Emotions are okay. So, again, it is okay to not be okay. It is actually okay to show up at church and not feel like you have to have everything buttoned up, have everything together, and make sure like you slap your kids a couple times in the parking lot so they put a smile on their face. Like, it is okay to not be okay. In fact, if you just look around, okay, we are all damaged goods. In fact, God specializes in damaged goods. It is okay to not be okay. I was listening to a podcast, and this guy was saying, like, people will always say, like, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Oh, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I'm in the valley, but there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And he was like, have you ever been through a tunnel? He's like, there's lights inside the tunnel. Every tunnel has lights. So before you get all fatalistic with your current predicament, remember, the tunnel that you're in does have lights. Like you can actually find purpose in the midst of your pain. Okay? So like emotions are real. It is okay to not be okay. In fact, what would it look like if you actually invite the pain to sit at the table with you? Like actually invite your pain in. Stop pretending like it's not there. Stop pretending like you've got it all together. Actually invite the pain in and see if God will turn your pain into a godly purpose. Let's see what happens when we just decide, you know what? It's okay to not be okay. Like at some point, we will need relief. David's like, God, keep me safe. Keep me safe. He's not pulling any punches. God, keep me safe. It is you I take refuge. Now we also find we're going to need relief. Everyone will try to find relief. In fact, life, you could almost say it's almost like a scurrying rat chase looking for the thing that's going to give us the most relief as quickly as possible. Everyone will try to find relief. Now I'm talking about my vacation so much. Apparently I need to work through it. I don't know. But when we were driving, I did drive home. I didn't leave them to drive home without me. I drove home. And they probably wish I flew at times. Because, like, I just can't help myself, okay? I just have a thing, okay? If I set the GPS, okay, you have to watch the time go down while you're driving, okay? If the estimated time of arrival goes up, it's infuriating for me. I just can't even, like, because I do nothing slowly, so I'm like, we are going to fly home. This is going to be great. We will think we're at the airport. That's how fast we're going to drive. And so we stopped at McDonald's because it's fast food, but it took us easily an hour and a half. Esther said 20 minutes, but it was easily an hour and a half. And so it was like, I was almost irate. Like, I was getting furious. I'm like, it's bad. I'm like yelling at the kids. I'm like it's their fault. Like, they don't work at McDonald's. And it's like their fault. And then there's like the HOV lane for high occupancy vehicles or for people who have way too many kids. And so like they put this thing in there so you can fly because they got it. Like the highway department knows if you have a lot of kids, you need to get home. And so there's a traffic jam. And I'm like, where is the express lane? Like, why do they not have an express lane? And then we finally get the express lane and now we're cooking. Like, I usually, if I'm in a traffic jam, I do everything but drive on the shoulder. I haven't done that yet, okay? I'm almost there though, because it's like it just feels so easy. Just drive and get it back in. But the HOV lane opens, and then evidently it's like one of those one-lane HOV things. So if the person in front of you is driving slow in the express lane, you have to slow down. And so now I'm furious. I'm like, can we please just find a faster route out of this place? We need to get there. She's like, what are we getting to? I was like, just there. We got to get there, okay? So like, let's find a faster route to get there. Like, we had dinner reservations that we weren't going to miss. Like, she's like, why are you in such a hurry? It's because it's all the thing. It's the principle. We have to get there. And so like, what's so interesting is that we do this with our lives. It's like, if I could just find the fastest way to get out of this thing, I'll take it. Just give me the fastest route possible to get out of this uncomfortable situation, and I'm there. I'll weave in and out of any bad situation you need me to. I'll dodge it. Just get me out of this thing. Everyone is searching for relief. David literally says, those who run after other gods will suffer more and more. Those who run after other gods will suffer more and more. Those who run after other gods will suffer more and more. Now, could you imagine where David could have run with his baggage? David didn't need to do this. He could have just quit. He could have just been like, this is dumb. I'm not doing this. If you guys don't want to fight Goliath, that's on you. I was very happy in the field with the sheep. I'm going to go back to Dad's house. He loved me, and I'm just going to bide my time, and I'm going to wait. David didn't have to do this. David could have just stopped. In fact, David could have done all sorts of things. When David's hiding in the cave, at one point, Saul literally comes into the cave to go to the bathroom. David could have just killed the guy who was trying to kill him. David didn't do that. David could have gotten out of this so many different ways. David could have gathered his people together and said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to infiltrate Israel. We're going to take down the king. I'm already anointed king. We can just go and do this thing. I am the king now. Like, we could just do this. David didn't do that. David didn't do that. David allowed himself to sit with God in his pain. Everyone is searching for relief. The question is, where are you going with your baggage? Because again, we are all filling our lives with baggage. This is the human condition. And the longer it goes, the heavier it gets, and the more desperate we become for relief. Every single day when our feet hit the floor, as depressing as this sounds, we're carrying our baggage with us. It's going everywhere. And the weight of our baggage can sometimes be too much to handle. It can feel like I need to get out of this. So but the worst thing that we can do is try to get relief from a place that was not created to carry our baggage. The worst thing you can do is look for quick relief. Anything to carry the baggage. But what's so often that we do is we give our baggage to things that were never meant to carry the weight of our baggage. We do this all the time. We self-medicate. Things like alcohol. We over-medicate with things like prescription drugs. There's a certain level of prescriptions.
18, we
for
have
the love
about
of
10
God, if
minutes
you need them,
left in the
take them.
search.
We found out like a few years ago, we went to marriage counseling, and the marriage counselor, like basically right after I started talking, she could just see it in my eyes. She looks at her and she's like, so what's it like being married to someone with ADHD? And I was like, see, I knew it. I knew I had a problem. And so anyway, but you can over-medicate for the sake of relief. You can actually have thoughts. Sometimes marital problems get so bad, you spend your evenings planning how you're going to end the thing. Some of you, it's just easier. If I just planned out and I just cheated on my spouse, I would find some relief. Sometimes the pain of the lack of intimacy in marriage can drive you to find relief in all of the wrong places. Some of us, the pain of depression is so much, we turn to things like self-harm. Thoughts of suicide,
just bump him
anything
up a little,
to
just a
give
little
us
bit.
some semblance of relief. This is way too heavy. I can't do it anymore.
Yep, that's good.
Something
Thanks.
has got to give. Others of us, we do what David could have done. We gather our friends and we try to find people just to tell us that we don't deserve it. You don't deserve this. You just need to find a way out. You need to fix this, you need to fix that. We try to surround ourselves with a circle of people who are actually, they're almost like enabling us to just find ways out and get relief. But maybe there's something that needs to happen in the midst of the pain that God wants to use. Maybe God actually wants to use the pain that we have found ourselves in. Remember, emotions are okay, but your conscience is going to force you to a place of relief. So who is in the driver's seat of your emotions? Who's in the driver's seat of your emotions? You can't let the pain of your season suffocate the faith that says that God is with you. You can't do that. You need to remember that God is for your marriage. He is for your health. He's for your family. You don't want to live in the land where you would point the finger at the only sustainable thing in this life. And that thing happens to be God. Because only God can give your baggage the relief that it needs. I love how David says in verse 2, he says, apart from you, I have no good thing. Right after he says, keep me safe, in you I take refuge. Apart from you, I have no good thing. It says in verse 5, you alone are my portion and my cup. You make my lot secure. What I love about David is he never points the finger at God. He never looks up and says, how in the world could you do this to me? If only you had picked one of my other brothers, one of the guys who was in the army, this would have never happened to me. If only you did such and such. He never points the finger at God. In fact, he understands that evil can never be attributed to God because God is ultimately
CJ is
good.
preaching in youth,
So he knows
so Jenny is
every
gonna
good
close.
thing comes from God. And that's why this poem is so impactful. Because he understands if I point the finger at God, I'm pointing at the only good thing that I really do know.
Jenny,
The only
that
thing that will
audio,
not
guys,
disappoint.
it'll be H10,
The only
it's
one who will
H7
come
for the
through
close.
when I need him most. The only one who can actually make me safe in the midst of my pain, and that is God. You see, the chaos surrounding you is actually, it might not be God. Maybe he's the only person who can help you find peace in the midst of the chaos. I found in my young life that relief is not the result of ignoring the hard stuff. In fact, sometimes it's like a paradox. It's like
Jenny's going to do the
paradox
close
of relief
instead
is
of
that you
CJ.
might need to live within the pain. The question is, can you
Just so
trust
you're
the
aware
sovereignty
for
of God?
audio. Make sure you get the right mic.
Like, how often do we want to just
chill.
shortcut the journey? Look for the way out.
That's what we do back here.
You see, David, again, I said it, he could have given up. And the saddest reality is when people do give up. You know, when people, I've tried it. I've done it all. We've done everything. We've just fallen out of love, which is a ridiculous notion, by the way, because it's a choice. Fallen out of love. This just isn't comfortable anymore. I'm uncomfortable. I don't want to do this. And so people give up. And so what we end up doing is we walk around with our baggage. There's nothing in this right now, so it's actually very light. But we walk around. Is this good? Okay. We walk around with our baggage, and it's like to the point where this is not sustainable anymore. And so here's what we try to do. We get to a place where we're like, you know what? I'm just going to leave this here with this group of people. I'm going to leave that, and I'm going to try to go do my own thing. And you realize, like, for like a moment, if you've ever quit, you know for a moment, this feels really good. Like, for a moment, you leave that place, you leave that situation, you're like, this feels really good. But far be it from anybody, is it not crazy that within like a month, it's all right back? It's like you're still depressed. It was like a great honeymoon, but now it's like it's still there. If you don't actually deal with what's in the baggage and the situation that you're in, you're actually not getting rid of it. You're just changing. You're giving it new scenery. You're giving it a new environment to grow and develop. This is why I always tell people, don't shortcut your journey. Try to figure out, what do we have to learn from the pain that we're in, and what does God want us to do with it when we're done? You realize that your pain is either going to be a story of how God has healed you, or it's going to become your identity, and you become a victim to the stuff that you've been through. And God has not called us to be victims. He actually wants your pain to become a story of the goodness of God. So you cannot leave your baggage behind. You actually have to realize who can take care of this thing. Too often we leave it with groups of people. We find friends who we can just dump on. I just need to vent for a moment. And we dump all the things that ail us. And now they're trying to pick up the pieces as if they are God. You realize idolatry is way closer than you and I think. Like, it's so often we actually view our friends as our God. If I just dump this on them, they can carry it. They're good with it. But you're actually neglecting the very one who can carry your pain. It's very important because we all have baggage. And God's desire is for us to have uncommon relief in the midst of pain. Uncommon relief. And the crux of this whole song is verse 6. And Najee, you can start playing. Oh, you're already up there. Guys, you look great. Have you been up there the whole time? That's crazy. Cool. All right, he says this in verse 6. I love this. He says, the boundary lines have fallen for me in pleasant places. Surely I have a delightful inheritance. The boundary lines have fallen for me in pleasant places. Surely I have a delightful inheritance.
It's my job to sneak up here without.
Now again, remember the cave. You have to
Only, like,
picture
get to the place
David
where they don't have to tell me when to
sitting
play. Like,
in a
I
cave.
know when.
It's probably dark. It's probably wet. It's disgusting. It's crowded. There's probably weird animals around. Gotta be, it's just a cave. It's gotta be super uncomfortable. There's nothing good about this cave. And I love the picture that it's in this moment that David, this line hits him. Like this line, he's confused. He's probably annoyed. He's scared. He's frustrated. And he writes the line, or at least memorizes and thinks the line. My boundary lines have fallen for me in pleasant places. Surely I have a delightful inheritance. They might think, is it just blind faith? Is this just wishful thinking, David? Like, if you said that to the wrong person in the situation you might find yourself in, like, actually, I have a delightful inheritance. Have you looked at your life? David, have you looked at your situation? Why don't you just give up? Why don't you just kill the guy? He's in here with us. Just end it. No, surely I have a delightful inheritance. Could it be that the same guy who wrote Psalm 23, that even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, is the same guy who wrote, my boundary lines have fallen for me in pleasant places. Surely I have a delightful inheritance. You realize for you and I, we've all experienced life. What's so amazing is that everybody in here is carrying something. Our tendency is either to downplay our baggage, it's either to, kind of just act like it's not that bad. We either act like we're the only ones who've experienced this much pain.
Right now.
No one understands the plight of my existence. No one's going to get me. No one's going to understand. So let's brush it up and polish it off and make sure nobody sees the pain that I'm actually in, because it's going to crush them if they hear it. Or we just pretend like we don't have anything going on. And that's where we just hold our breath for a couple hours. Every time we're around people, get together with friends. How are things going? Oh, it's good. Good. It's good. But you can almost see it in people's eyes. It's like their brains are rattling from how good it is not. Everyone is carrying baggage. The question is going to be, will you be Saul or are you going to be David? Will you figure out how to live your life on your toes and searching for the refuge that can only be found in God? Or will you hide when you're supposed to be fighting? Will you just find any way to shortcut the journey? Oh, here's a kid who wants to fight the giant. Go ahead. Let's just get out of this thing. It's torture. Or will you be like David, who understands that it's in you that I take refuge? So church, God has pleasant places for you. Like you actually have a delightful inheritance. It might feel like you are in a cave right now, but you have a delightful inheritance. Your marriage might feel like it is in a cave right now, but there's one who can give you relief in the midst of the pain. You may be in here and you're already broken. It feels like you've already screwed it up. It's already done. I want you to know that God specializes in damaged goods. He actually can redeem broken things. The Bible says that he makes broken lives beautiful. God specializes in it. And if you think that the Psalms is just an Old Testament thing, Josh, why don't you give us something in the New Testament?
Joey, can you prep grapes in the gardens,
literally
please?
says, and I'll end with this. Jesus says, my yoke is easy
Can you prep grapes
and
in the
my
gardens?
burden is light. He says, come
Grapes
to
in the
me,
gardens?
all
Yes.
who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. This is hundreds of years after David. And the people of Israel, the Jewish people still had not figured it out. And Jesus stands up and he says, you are here, you are stressed
Just for
out,
everyone's knowledge,
you
we
are
are going
anxious,
to go
you have
into a little bit of
anxiety,
extended
you're trying
worship.
to figure this whole thing out, but you just can't do it, you're carrying baggage, and Jesus says, come to me,
In the gardens, I don't think I have a
all
flow
who are
for it.
weary and
Give me
heavy
a
laden, and I will give you
6-8
rest.
Do
When
you
is the
want me
last
to
time
keep
you've
this
taken your
background,
baggage
or am I
and you
going
brought
into
it
the
to the
full
feet of
background song?
Jesus and you said, you know what,
Stay
God,
in the
my
same
wife
look.
and I can't seem to figure this thing out. You know what, I cannot figure this thing out with my kids. But we are committed today that this thing will not be our story. We are committed today that it will not be
singing
the
the whole
story
song?
of my family, that this thing ends tragically.
Go ahead.
No, we are bringing it to the one whose yoke is easy
Go ahead, John.
and his burden is
Are we singing
light.
the full song?
So church,
Probably
I
not.
promise
The
you,
first one.
it even said about Saul, and you can read it in 1 Samuel chapter 10. It says that he had a delightful inheritance.
That's the first
Even Saul, it was
We'll probably start
basically
first
the
bridge, go ahead.
same situation for Saul. And he made
Six,
tragic
yep.
error after tragic error, looking for anything
happening.
to
1,
give him
2,
relief.
3,
I'm
4,
here to
5,
tell you
6,
that you can find relief by finding God.
Zion, can you turn
He
vocals
is
out?
the only one who can sustain you through the valley. He's the only one who can take the blinders off
Got it.
and show you that there are lights inside the tunnel. So I don't know where you have found yourself this morning. I don't know where you found yourself this week. But I promise you, Jesus is here. Jesus is real. And Jesus wants to give you relief
6,
from your
4,
pain. And I
1,
promise
5,
it's the only
6,
sustainable
4,
answer inside this universe. It is Jesus.
6,
It is Christ and
4,
Him crucified. So
1.
church, let's pray together. Jesus,
1, 1.
we thank you that you are good. We thank you that your yoke is easy and your
Just so you
burden
know,
is light.
I have no
And
feet
God,
for
we
you right
admit
now.
today that we are not okay.
I guess you're just pointing at something.
We are weary.
Very dark.
We are heavy laden. And for
6,
the love of God, we need
4,
some rest.
1. Actually,
So
go to,
Jesus, we give
the
you our
Graves
baggage.
Bridge, Justin.
We give
Nope,
you our
stay here,
broken
Ashley. Nope,
relationships.
I lied.
We give you our addictions.
4,
We give you our pain.
1.
We give
Have
you
more,
our
Josh.
struggle. We give you our stresses. We ask that you do what
4,
only you can do. You
1.
give us relief from the pain that we are in. Help it to become our story
Front
and
line.
not just our identity.
We'll start
we thank
with
you for it in the name of
first
Jesus.
bridge.
Amen.
Go U-turn morning.
Going to 5.
U-turn. U-turn morning to dancing. Beauty. You give shame and the glory. Come on, live it in, build it in. You're the only. 6, 4. Do it again. U-turn morning.
3.
1.
Going to 2. Actually,
4.
hold on, 2. Going to 2.
4.
Going to 1.
No, just give Jenny the cue because people are leaving. So.
6, 4. U-turn Graves. Real big.
Give Jenny the cue. People are leaving. So end it on this one.
Ready, 4. Going to 4.
Seeking a highway.
Ready, 2. Going to 2. Look for Jenny coming out very shortly, guys.
No, 6.
Ready, 1.
4.
Going to 1.
Tagging it, U-turn. You tag 6, you're the only. More time, you're the only.
Okay, we'll be looking for Jenny for the close.
Down. 1. 1.
Well, church, I
4,
don't know about you, but I
1.
am loving the
4.
series that we are in about
1.
Psalms. And
4.
Pastor Josh did
Thanks,
such
1.
an incredible
4.
message today that is so
5.
tangible and applicable
4.
to all of our
Hey,
lives.
Joanne.
And I just want to
Yes.
give you a
For next service, can we change the title of this instead of Final Things to Close?
Wednesday.
4.
We will be
Oh,
meeting
oh,
here
yeah.
at
One.
7
Yeah, it's at my-
p.m.
it
says
We would
close on
love
my
to
end,
see
but
you
I'm
Six,
here
sir.
and
No
worship
problem.
with
Yep.
us. But until
1.
then, in church, have a great
5.
week and have a great
6.
rest of your day.
4.
And go for closing service.
5. 6.
Good job, guys.
4.
Thanks, everyone.
1. 5. I hear 6. 4. 1. Good job.
Okay, team, if anybody is on comms, there are 10 minutes left until pre-roll. right, team, there's a little less than 5 minutes to pre-roll. Carrie? Yes.
Any changes for this service?
None that I'm aware of.
Do you know, are we still going to do the graves and the gardens at the end?
Analogy's going to make that determination, but I would be ready.
Okay. I got it. Thanks.
Thank you. Two minutes to pre-roll. $50 seconds to pre-roll.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Hey, Mike. Can you come over here for 1 sec, buddy? I know you're over there.
30 seconds to pre-roll. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and go for pre-roll.
Justin!
Okay.
1 minute to.
Just a reminder, cameras, we open on Marion. She is all the way over on the right. House right. And she will be doing the speaking intro real quick. And then
Do you send vocals out, Zion? Hey, Pat, you can bring down my input channel.
on 5 to start. It's an intro.
35 seconds remain.
Hey, Ben.
First
you
song
look
up
dead.
is Yahweh.
Pretty happy. I am. I had to restart amp. Thank you.
15 seconds remain.
I swear I gotta work on my stage presence, my smile.
Right, smile.
9, 8,
Boss,
7,
Kia B.
6, 5,
Go.
4, 3, 2, and we're gonna welcome the room and go for praise.
1, 2.
Going to 5. Going to 1. Going to 2. Going to 2.
First one will be Marion.
Sorry for it, he wasn't really playing. Ready, 4, going to 4 now. Ready, 2. Going to 2, now. Ready, 4, going to 4 now. Ready, 3, going to 3 now. Ready, 1, going to 1. Ready, 2, going to 2. Ready, 5, going to 5 now. Ready, 1, going to 1. Ready, 4, going to 4 now. Can you go back and do that too? I'll take it. Going to 2. Ready, 5, going to 5. Ready, 2, going to 2 now. Ready, 4, going to 4 now. Ready, 1, going to 1. Ready, 2, going to 2. Sorry, going to 3. Ready, 2, going to 2 now. Ready, 4, going to 4 now.
Down.
Ready, 1. Actually, going to 2, going to 2. Ready, 1.
Better
going
gonna
to 1.
6.
Ready, 3. Going to 3 now. Going to 4 now. Going to 1. Going to 1. 2. Can you give me something else? Ready, 5. Going to 5. Ready, 2. Going to 2 now. Ready, 4. Going to 4 now. Ready, 1.
Going up half.
3, going to 3 now.
1.
Going to 4, going to 4. Ready 2, going to 2 now. Ready 1, going to 1 now. Ready 5, going to 5. Ready 2, going to 2. Ready 4, going to 4 now.
Up a half.
Ready 1, going to 1.
Up 1. Break.
Going to 2 now. Ready 3, going to 3 now.
6.
Ready 4, going to 4.
5, 4, 3.
Ready 1, going to 1. Ready 5, going to 5.
One more.
Ready 2, going to 2. Ready 4,
Up a half. 1.
Ready 1, going to 1. Ready 2, going to 2. Ready 4, going to 4 now. Going to 1, going to 1. Ready 2, going to 2. Ready 3,
5.
going to 3 now.
Drop it down.
Ready 5, going to 5.
Down.
Ready, going to 1, going to 1. Yep, go ahead and center her up. 1. Next song up is Jessica. She's second from the left. Ready 4, going to 4.
Chorus.
Going to 1, going to 1. Yep, keep going back 1.
To the click. Up a half. Tagged it. 2.
Ready 2,
5.
going to 2.
Up a half. 6. One more time.
4, going to 4 now.
Right here. 1. Walks in a 1. On a 1. On a 1. On a 1. Walk.
Going
Walk.
to 5, going to
Fire.
5 now.
Shut out 1.
Up next is Shall
Real
Not
big in
Want.
intro. Here we go.
Jessica will be
1,
leading.
2.
Jessica on 2, ready 2 when she starts. Actually, going to 4. Ready 3, going to 3. Oh, ready 2, going to 2. Ready 1, going to 1. Ready 2, going to 2. Ready 4, going to 4.
Go to more organ.
Going to 2. Ready 3. Going to 3 now. Ready 1. Going to 1. Actually going to 2. Yeah, 1. Can you do a zoom in on her? Yep. I'll switch over to you in a minute. Ready 1. Go. Now.
To 5.
Ready 4. Going to 4. Ready 2. Going to 2. Ready 3. Going to 3 now. Ready 1. Going to 1. Ready 5. Going to 5. Ready 1. Going to 1. Ready 4. Going to 4 now. Then going to 2 and then 3. Ready 2. Ready 3 now. Ready 1. Going to 1. Ready 2. Going to 2. Going to 1. Going to 4. Ready 3. Going to 3. Ready 2. Going to 2. Now.
Again. 6, 1.
Ready 1. Going to 1. Ready 4. Going to 4 now.
Break it down. Break. Break.
Panel's out. And it's not coming back. Justin, we're out up here.
Hallelujah.
going to 2. Ready, 1, going to 1. Sorry, everyone. Ready, 3, going to 3 now. Ready, 5, going to 5. Ready, 2, going to 2 now.
Going over half.
Ready, 4, going 4 now. Ready, 2, going to 2. Ready, 1, going to 1. Ready, 2, going to 2. Ready, 4, going to 4. Ready, 3, going to 3 now.
Up. Building up. Up a half.
2, going to 2. Ready, 1, going to 1. Ready, 5, going 5. Ready, 2, going to 2.
Building 6.
Ready, 4,
7.
going to 4 now. Ready, 3, going to 3. Ready, 1, going to 1.
6.
Ready, 5,
4,
going to 5 now. Ready, 3, going to 3 now.
Out. 6 1 out.
Ready, 4, going to 4 now. Going to 1, going to 1. Ready, 3, going to 3. Ready, 2, going to 2. Ready, 1,
6
going to
1.
1. Ready, 4, going to 4 now. Ready, 1, going to 1. Ready, 2,
6
going to 2. Ready, 3, going to 3.
4 and real big. Give it up.
Ready, 5, going to 5 now. Ready, 2, going to 2. Ready, 1, going to 1. Ready, 4, going to 4. Ready, 5, going to 5.
4.
Ready, 2, 1, going to 1. Ready, 2, going to 2. Ready, 3, going to 3.
2 3.
Ready, 4, going to 4. Ready, 2, 4, 1.
Real big
going to
right
1.
here. Ending it.
Ready, 2, going to 2 now. Going to 5.
Give it up.
Going to 1.
Let's a joyful noise for Jesus.
Okay, we're going into video now.
Clap your hands. He is so good. Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you so much for worshiping with us this morning. Please take your seats and check out our next video.
And go for Weekend Update.
Father's House, welcome to another edition of the Weekend Update. My name is Pastor Josh.
My name is Carlos.
It is so great to have you back at the Weekend Update
Yes.
Desk. Church,
Yes.
we're so excited about all the things happening to make your week here at the church even more exciting.
Justin,
Like
just so
Carlos,
you know,
how's it
when
starting?
It's
when
starting
the
off with
panel
first
dropped out,
Wednesday. First
the
Wednesday,
laptop next to it
May
also dropped
4th.
out. I'm not
So
sure if that helps
May
or
the
not,
4th
but
be with you after you
they both
celebrate
got together.
May the 4th be with you.
Justin, I
Go
just
get
thought of
yourself
this
a
great
free
idea
comic
for
at a
Wednesday
comic book
pre-roll.
shop.
I should do
It's
the
also,
Star
yeah,
Wars
free comic
theme.
book day. Then when you're done with that, finish May the 4th be with you with us here first Wednesday at 7 o'clock. It's going to be amazing, and I'm so excited. See you there.
And we are 1 week out from our Mother's Day celebration here at the Father's House. Always a special time celebrating all the special women in our lives. So make sure you make it a point to bring mom to church with you.
3 minutes left in the video.
9/11. Also, there's still time. Dads, husbands, sons, daughters, and hey, even boyfriends. For purchasing a gift for your mom on Mother's Day, do not forget, we've got some supply chain issues, so get the orders in early. We're just trying to help you out as best we can here on the Weekend Update Desk. But church, we are in the middle of a Psalms series. It is just an excellent series where we get to study the book of Psalms and all that it has to offer. For more context on this series, check out this video.
The Psalms are a very unique section of the Bible. Rather than being a single work of literature, it's a collection of over 150 songs and poems composed over the span of 1,000 years. Some chapters reflect the lives of people living in thriving monarchies, while other chapters were written centuries later during times of exile and persecution.
2 minutes left in the video.
Of petition, praise, prophecy,
2 minutes left in the video.
It really is an expression of what it means to be human. Let's take a look. Psalm 38 says, I am bent over and racked with pain. All day long, I walk around filled with grief. Psalm 91, this I declare about the Lord. He alone is my refuge, my place of safety. He is my God, and I trust him. And Psalm 40, I waited patiently for the Lord to help me. and he turned to me and heard my cry. He lifted me out of the pit of despair. But we should understand that the Psalms aren't just chapters in our Bibles. They are very real works of art, which served a variety of purposes during their time. The evidence for this is right in our Bibles. More than 2/3 of the Psalms have a notation at the beginning. For example, the beginning of Psalms 4 states,
1 minute left
"For
in
the
the video."
director of music with stringed instruments, a psalm of David. Psalm 92 describes itself as a psalm for the Sabbath day. Psalm 45 tells the reader that it should be set to
Nate,
the
after
tune
the
of
video when they
lilies,
come up, you want
that it was
Cameron wanted to
written by
get
the
both
sons of
speakers
Korah,
correct.
and it was
Yes.
originally
So
meant
one,
to be
get
used as a wedding song.
the shot with like
And in
both
our
people
English
in it.
Bibles, these
And then two
unnumbered
will follow the
headings
actor.
are unique
35
to the
seconds
Psalms.
left.
And
This
remain
video
attached,
does
giving
end
us
abruptly, so we will be
praise
looking
the
for
lives
Jenny
and
and
practices
Carolyn with the
of
welcome
our ancient ancestors.
as this ends.
As much as we would love to
Same
experience
group
these songs with
from
their
first service,
original
4,
melodies
3,
and musical compositions,
6,
these details unfortunately have been lost to history. But what hasn't been lost are the words.
10,
All
9,
these words are
8,
ancient,
7,
they have
6,
meaning for us,
5,
our roadmap to
4,
how we can live our
3,
lives. So let's
2,
do it.
and go for a walk.
Going to one.
Well, good morning, church.
We go.
As
One,
Josh
two,
mentioned
mic
in
down,
the video,
3,
Mother's
4,
Day is next week.
Ready, 2,
And if
going
you are a woman in this room or
1, 6,
online,
7,
can you give a quick
5,
shout?
come on, celebrate. 4.
We are
3.
so excited that you guys
How's
are
my
here.
focus?
Whether if it's your first time or your
it
100th
looks
time,
a
I just want to say
little
hello
off
to
going
those
to
who are in
one.
the room, those who are joining us online, and our Monroe and Albion
There, how's
extension.
that?
Watch the
My name
lines
is
in the
Jenny,
back.
and I am the
Four.
serve
We got a
pastor
comment on
here
the
at the
first
Father's
service,
House.
so just
And
be
this
careful
is
of
my
those.
dear friend
6, 7,
Carolyn.
5, 4.
You see the lines on the
Good
screens
morning,
too.
everyone. As
They
Jenny
were
says, my
complaining
name
about
is
those
Carolyn,
earlier, so just be
and
careful
I
of
am
those.
new on staff at the Father's House.
Are they gone? I don't
serve
see them on the
support
overhead
Pastor
screen.
Gary as the spiritual
Yeah,
formation
they're still a little.
administrator.
They're a little bit
So
right
I'm
now.
so excited to be on staff and be able to serve God and,
There you go.
and
Now they're
serve all
gone.
of you.
Ready
And
to.
we are grateful that you are here also.
Going
And
to
if
two.
this is your first time here with us at the Father's House, I would love to encourage you guys to go out into
see
the
that
lobby
too, how they're
after
still-
the
they're just, like,
sermon
bouncing
is
around
done
there. There you go,
and
right
meet
there.
with one of our connectors in the center of the lobby, right in front of our playground. And we would just love to hear who you are, a little bit of your story, and just get to know you a little bit. And the fun part is, if you fill out a welcome card, guess who will be contacting
Going to
you
one.
this week? So you will have a familiar face that you know who will be reaching out to you. And we are just excited that you are here with us, and we can't wait to get to know you. But Carolyn,
We're
I
talking
believe
about
we have
5,
some
5,
thoughts on giving today.
Just a little
4,
bit. So we had a wonderful time in worship, right?
5,
And so for me, our giving, my
6,
giving, our generosity, giving back to the church is an extension of
7.
my worship and my relationship with God.
4.
And God challenges us, right, in generosity.
5,
And He does that because there is something that He also
6.
wants us to receive in our giving. So let me
7,
share a
yep.
scripture with you from the book of
1,
Acts,
and
chapter 4, verse
4.
32. It says, all the believers were one.
Just an
in
FYI,
mind.
we are about 30
No one
seconds
claimed that any of their
early,
possessions
so
was
they
their
may
own,
end a little bit early.
But they shared
Okay.
everything that they had. So for me, the beautiful thing about this scripture is what it's saying is that we don't have to get to give. We don't have to try to achieve and to look for all these things. But what God is requiring from us is to give what we already have. What's in your hands? What do you have today? So for all of you who give and who partner with the Father's House, we thank you for your giving because we couldn't do what we do without that, right? And for those of you who are new, don't feel obligated to give. But those of you who have been here, who've been coming to the Father's House, and you call this place home, I challenge you. God challenges you. Look in your hands. See what you have to give and give. And I think my friend Jenny over here is going to tell us how we can do that. How we do that, Jenny?
Yes, so there's multiple ways that you can do that around the auditorium
stand
and in
one
the
while the
lobby.
banner's
We
up.
have giving kiosks that you can just drop your tithe in, or if you want to give electronically, you can do Google Pay, Venmo Pay, Apple Pay. I personally love to set my giving on recurring That way I don't have to remember every week. I don't have to wrestle with myself every week. It's just a commitment that I have locked in and I know is happening.
Okay, up next we are going back into worship with Same God.
With me as we go back into worship. God, we just thank you that you are a God who is present with us here even today, that we get to give because you give to us, Father. And it is a blessing and it is an honor to be a part of your church and to be a part of your
5 is the
people.
transition.
In Jesus' name.
Look for Lori leading. Going to 5.
Worship.
Same God. Fire.
Going to 2.
Please stand as we continue in our worship.
Ready, 4. Going to 4. Ready. Okay, gonna be doing some fades here, guys. So just be ready for them. Going to 2. Yep. 1, 2. Can you slowly move her off to the right? 1. Put her on the left. Zoom in to adjust her.
Starting to click 6, 7.
Yep. Faster 1. Faster. Need her over there. Yep. Ready. 1. Fading in 1.
Lori will be on verse 1, 2, and the chorus.
1's in. Ready. 3. Fading in 3. Ready. 4. Going to 4 now. Ready. 1. Actually, go back to that 2. I'll take it. Fading in 2. Slow 2. Slow. So. Yep. 2's in. Ready. 4. Going to 4. Ready. 1. Going to 1. I'll come back to that 2.
I'm trying to stop this choppy pull. This choppy.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if you were just really wanting me to take that or not. Ready. 4. Going to 4.
On your faithfulness.
Ready. 2. Going to 2. Fading in 2. You need a hand. 2's in.
Verse 3 will be Mark.
Going to 1.
Stacy, is that better, or do you need a hand? Is that better, or do you need a hand? I can help her with you.
Ready. 4. Going to 4 now. Ready. 1. Going to 1. Ready. 3. Going to 3.
Shepherd boy courageous.
4.
I may not face good.
Break.
Ready. 1.
But I've got my own giants.
Okay, gonna start picking it up. Ready. 5. Going to 5. Ready. 2. Or going to 1.
No, 2.
Nope. Yep. I gotcha. Ready. 3. Going to 3. Ready. 4.
Justin's helping me.
Yep. Ready. 1. Going to 1. Ready. 5. Going to 5. Ready. 4. Going to 4 now. Ready. 3. Going to 3 now. Ready. 1. Going to 1 now. Ready. 5 now. Ready. 3. Going to 3. Let me know 2.
I'm better.
Ready. 1. Then 2. Ready. 2.
Down.
Now. 2. Ready. 4. Ready. 1. Going to 1. Ready. 5. Going to. Actually, staying at 1. Watch head on 1. Ready. 4. 4 now.
You are the same God.
Ready. 2. Going to 2 now. Ready. 5. Starting to run 5. Going 5 now.
You answer prayers now. You are the same God. You are the
Ready. 3.
same
Going to 3 now.
You are providing.
Ready. 2. Going to 2.
You are providing now.
Ready. 1. Going to 1. Ready. 4. Going to 4 now. Ready. 5.
Everybody in?
Now. Okay, start picking your motions back up. Ready. 1. Going to 1. Ready. 2. Going to 2 now. Ready. 5. Going to 5 now. Ready. 4 now. Ready. 3. Going to 3 now. Ready. 2. Going to 2.
3.
Now. Ready, 4. Going to 4 now.
4.
Ready, 1. Going to 1. Ready,
2.
5. Going to 5 now. Ready, 2. Going to 2 now. Ready, 4.
1.
Going to 4. Ready, 3. Going to 3. Ready, 1. Going to 1. Ready, 5. Going to 5. Ready, 2. Going to 2 now. Ready, 1. Going to 1. Ready, 4. Going to 4 now. Ready, 3. Going to 3. Ready, 1. Going to 1. Ready, 5. Going to 5. Ready, 2. Going to 2. Ready, 3. Going to 3. Ready, 5. Going to 5. Ready, 1. Going to 1. Ready, 3. Going to 3. Ready, 5. Going to 5. Ready, 4. Going to 4. Ready, 2. Going to 2. Ready, 1. Going to 1 now.
3.
Ready,
Going
3.
to
Going
3.
to 3 now.
1,
Ready,
7, 6.
5. Going to 5. Ready, 4. Going to 4. Ready, 1. Going to 1. Ready,
4.
2. Going to 2. Ready, 3. Going to 3. Ready, 5. Going to 5. Ready, 1. Going to 1.
1, 1.
Ready, 2. Going to 2. Ready, 4. Going to 4. Ready, 3. Going to 3. Ready, 5. Going to 5. Ready, 1. Going to 1. Ready, 2. Going to 2. Not too much closer, 2. Ready, 4. Going to 4 now.
Okay, we're going to be shifting over to How Great
Ready,
with
1.
Megan.
Look for Megan. She's all the way on the left. Ready, 3. Going to 3.
1 to 1.
Yep, 2. You can stay there. I don't think she's started quite yet. Going to 4.
And go for How Great.
Going
4.
to 2 now. Okay, 1 footer on the right.
Yep.
Yep, down a little bit. Got a headroom going, fading in 1.
Second.
Ready, 3. Love that 3. Bringing her 3 in.
1.
3's in. Ready, 4. 4 now. I need a close shot of her. Ready, 1. Going to 1. Yep, keep going 1. Ready, 2. Going to 2 now. Ready, 4. Then back to 3. Ready, 3. Going to 3 now. Ready, 2. Going to 2 now. Ready, 5. Going to
4.
5 now.
All voices in.
Ready, 1. She's going to 3 now. Ready, 2. Then back to 4. Going to 2. Ready, 4. Going to 4. Ready, 1. Going to 1 now. Ready, 5. Going to 5. Ready, 3. Going to 3. Ready, 2. Archie going to 1. Going. Ready, 4. Going to 4 now. Ready, 2. Going to 2. Ready, 5. Going to 5. Ready, 1. Going to 1. Ready, 2. Going to 2. Ready, 3. Going to 3. Ready, 4. Going to 1.
6,
Going to 1. Ready, 4.
7,
Going to 4
Come
now.
on, dog. Give me something.
Ready, 5. Going to 5 now.
4.
Ready, 3. Going to 3. Ready, 2. Going to 2. Ready, 5. Going to 5. Ready, 3. 1. Going to 1. Ready, 3. Going to 3. Ready, 4. Going to 4 now. The phrase ends. Ready, 1. Now. Ready, 5. Going to 5. Ready, 2. Going to 2. Ready, 3. Going to 3. Ready, 2. Going to 2. Ready, 5. Going to 5. Ready, 1. Going to 1. Ready, 4. Going to 4. Ready, 2. Going to 2. Ready, 1. Going to 1. Thanks, 1. Ready, 3. Going to 3. Ready, 5. Going to 5. Stay back, 5. Ready, 2. Going to 2. Ready, 4. Going to 4. Ready, 1. Going to 1. Ready, 5. Going to 5. Ready, 3. Going to 3. Ready, 2. Going to 2. Ready, 1. Going to 1. Ready, 5. Going to 5. Ready, 4. Going to 4 now. Ready, 2.
Drop it down.
Going to 2.
4.
Ready, 1. Going to 1. Ready, 5. Going to 5 now.
And Megan for the chorus.
On the
Going
chorus.
to, stay in 1. Stay in 1. Actually, going to 3. Go back to that 1. I'll take it.
I'm gonna go get Eddie, yeah?
Ready, 1. Going to 1. Yeah, watch Mark. Yeah. He'll be coming in soon. You want to go in close?
I said Eddie, I meant Mark.
Yeah, I did the same thing.
Looking for
service.
Mark for the chorus.
Ready, fading in 2. Put
One.
going to 3.
Go, Mark.
Going to 2. Mating in 2.
My Savior God, to thee, how great thou art, how
Ready, 3.
thou
Going to 3 now. Ready, 1. Going to 1.
sings my soul, my Savior.
Ready, 2. 2 now. Ready, 4. 4 now.
2.
Ready, 1. Going to 1.
5. Come on, everybody.
Ready, 3
Come on.
now.
Everybody.
4. Going to 4.
1.
Ready, 2. Going to 2.
4. Up.
Ready, 1. Going to 1.
Up.
Ready, 3. Going to 3 now. Ready, starts 3. 3.
2. Back up more. Lead.
Ready, 1. Going
5.
to 1.
4. 3. 6.
Ready, 4.
2.
Going to 4 now.
5. 1.
Ready, 5. Going to 5.
Up a half. 5. Up.
Ready, 2. Going to 2 now.
6. Tagging it. 2.
Ready,
1.
Going to 1.
7. 3.
We'll be looking for Josh to step in.
Going for Josh coming up.
Down.
Ready, 3.
2.
3 now.
Here's it. 5. Wash on the 1. Wash on the 1.
When he's
On the 1.
going to 1.
And looking for Josh to pray.
Jesus, we thank you. God, that you are great. You always have been great. You always will be great. And God, sometimes we just stand in awe of who you are, what you've done for us, what you've carried us through, what you continue to carry us through. God, we are just grateful that we get to be a part of what you are
Steve,
doing.
feel free to
here
set
on
up on the
this earth. We thank you
tripod.
for it. In
If
Jesus'
you can
name.
get me a shot
Amen.
with Josh on
go
the
for
left
message.
and audience on the
High
right.
five someone, air
I'll
high
mix it
five
in
someone
a
on your way
couple times
down.
during the message.
All right.
You guys are good.
Well,
Yeah,
again,
one,
we want to
one
welcome
stay
you. If
wide
you're
enough
joining
that
us
you get him
online,
and
thank
the
you for being
luggage,
here. It's
kind
I
of
know
like
you
the
look
tip
good.
of it there.
Hold on. Why does it
Yeah,
block?
not quite that wide,
All right.
but
We
yeah,
think we look good.
right around there is probably
One time
good.
my wife said, well, we don't know if they look good. I'm like, well, that's mean. So anyway, Albion Monroe, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Love having you a part of our community. Hoping you're enjoying the service so far. It's going to be this is going to be a fun one, I think.
You can go in tighter,
we'll
3.
see. Quite
to
biased.
tight enough that we can get the TV out of the bottom
Anyway,
of the corner there.
we just got
See if
back
they
from
can-
vacation, my family
Ready,
and I.
1, going to 1.
So which was
When
it
he
was great.
turns.
Yeah, it was spring break, and we have 3 kids. They're 7. I said 4 last service. My daughter's 5. Okay, but between basically 1 to 10, it doesn't matter. So she's
How you
5.
like that, Nate?
Can you
It's
get
like
him
she's
any
not gonna
closer?
remember
Like
any
maybe
of
so
them.
he's about
So,
half the screen.
Anyway, she's 5, and my other daughter's a year and a
Yeah,
half
down
old.
a
and so
little. Just bring
you
him
can
up a
probably
little bit.
imagine how the vacation was.
See
So
how does
super,
that work?
super refreshing and fulfilling. I
Ready,
mean,
2, going to
man,
2.
nothing just screams rest like bringing 3 kids on a road
Yeah,
trip
that's good.
and
3.
staying in the same room. It's just, I just love it.
Going
I
to
would
3.
live in that world, man.
Going to
So
1 now.
it was good though. And
Just
I
watch
actually,
headroom
they
1.
drove down. I didn't drive down because they left before Easter Sunday, and I couldn't do that. I wanted to drive down 14 hours with them, but I couldn't.
Ready,
Man,
2,
I was really
going to 2
disappointed.
when he
So
turns.
I flew. I had to make sure that Southwest still could fly. It was touch and go, but we made it. It was so. But anyway, packing for a road trip is quite the thing. If you don't know this, if you're married to a very organized individual, like I am, I'm not organized. I'm married to one, and packing becomes it's either you embrace it or you hate it, and it really depends on the mood I'm in.
Why
that
don't we
morning
center
when
him
we
up until
start.
he actually
So,
starts
I'll
referencing
pack
the
my
luggage?
stuff, even my suitcase. Like nothing belongs to me anymore, so I'll pack it. This actually
course,
is
now
a
we do.
suitcase.
Ready, 1,
This
going to
happens to
1.
be my son's suitcase. The 7-year-old has the nicest suitcase in the house. Okay, the rest of ours are hand-me-downs, and then I got mine when I was like 12. So, but he needed a really nice suitcase because he asked. I think he asked for it. He asked for one, yeah. So he wanted a suitcase. So we get him whatever he wants. Anyway, so my wife, she generally will, like, just because she loves to do it, not because I'm like this. Like, she'll, like, pack my stuff. She's into it. Like, I'm fully capable, and she's fully capable, and so it's just kind of one of those things. So this time she left before she packed my stuff, which was super frustrating, but whatever. And so I had to pack my own things. And so I don't do it the way she would do it at all. It's always a thing. And then when we pack to leave the car, okay, it's like I'll put it in. As long as the door's closed and the kids can find their seats, like, we're good. Like, it's fine. As long as they can get to anything that will distract them for the 30,000 hours we're going to be driving, we're fine. It doesn't need to be Tetris. And so when we're leaving, I go pack the van. Like, I'm literally lugging all the luggage down the stairs. I'm packing it in. Like, I'm feeling great about myself. I'm sweating. And you know how I feel about hard work if you're around, like, manual labor. It's just not my deal. And so, like, I'm just already frustrated. And then I come back downstairs, and she's out there. She's pulled everything out of the van. And I was like, what are we doing? And she's like, it's just not going to work like this. I was like, well, it did work, because you noticed that you had to open the door to get to the things. And so she's got a very pristine way that she likes the thing packed, and it's a much better way to go. But it got me thinking about, like, the baggage that, like, I carry in my life. You know what I mean? Like, I will try, maybe you're like me. Like, when you show up to a group of people, like, you try to make the stuff that you're carrying, you know, the stresses, the things that are just driving you crazy, and you try to package them as nicely as possible. Like, when I get around people, they need to see that I've got, like, a 360-degree carry-on. Like, I'm dealing with some stuff, but you'll never know I'm dealing with some stuff. It's going to look pretty. I'm going to make sure I temper my emotions when I'm around you. Like, we'll try to set up our lives in a way that nobody actually knows we have baggage. And that's a really weird place to be. So today we're actually going to talk a little bit about
Can you watch your headroom, guys? You
stresses,
got a little bit,
anxiety,
little bit much
things that we carry around, whether you like it or not. Now, we could sit here today, and we could talk about the things that would polarize a room. Half the room would be full of anxiety. The other half of the room would probably be angry that the other half of the room doesn't think the way I think. So, for example, right now, for whatever reason, if I say Twitter, it splits a room. Like, it's always been a cesspool, so I don't totally understand it. But, like, right now, it's Twitter. It's like, oh my gosh, everybody's got an opinion now about this thing. Other things are, if we say the word nationalism, that will split a room. It'll be everybody's got their ideas. If we say climate change right now, that'll split a room. A lot of people get a lot of anxiety about it. People should have more anxiety than they have about it, but it'll split a room. If we say the 2020 election, we'll split a room. If we say Democrat, certain people are thinking one thing, others are thinking another thing. If we say Republican, the same exact thing. If we say Florida, splits a room. Okay, no matter, like, it's just a thing that happens for whatever reason, that's the spot. Like, it will split a room. The one thing that does unify people, though, is if we say cats, we're all on the same page about those. They're horrible things. So, anyway. Yes, right. I'm just kidding. If you're new here, you are allowed to have cats until you come. And then you must get rid of said cats, because we are not a cat church, we are a people church. And he's a people God, not a cat God. Amen? All right. Anyway, I'm going to completely lose control. It's good. But all of those things besides that are super polarizing. But what's crazy about those is most of it, it's like really outside. Like, it doesn't necessarily, like, you honestly, if you delete Twitter from your phone, your world will be a better place, right? Like, you actually, like, I have friends who have, like, they do your screen time now, like, they gauge it. So I have friends who are, like, trying to break up with their phones, been down that road. I'm very clingy. So, but I have friends who are trying to break up with their phones. I have friends who stopped reading the news. They stopped turning on cable news, and their lives are better for it. Like, you're actually a happier person if you stay off Facebook. It's just the facts of life. You're a happier person if you stop watching cable news. It's just, I believe there's studies. If there's not, we're doing one right now. We're all happier if we stop watching, okay? But they're all outside. Like, you can actually get away from those things. But what about the stresses of life that are, like, unavoidable? Like the baggage where every morning it just seems to get heavier and heavier and heavier. I'm talking about things like your marital problems. Like, that's something you really can't get away from. Like, you can try, and we all try, but it's there. Your financial problems. That's like an inside thing. You can delete everything from your phone, but if the financial problems are there, it's going to keep you up at night. Your addiction is another thing that's an unavoidable stress in your life right now. Some of us are living our lives with fears. Some of us are lacking sleep, partly because of our fears. Sometimes it's just over-induced stress and anxiety that's crippling us to the point where we literally cannot sleep. Others of us, we really try to pretend like our problems don't exist. We try. There's depression, there's anxiety, all of these inner things that just seem to get heavier the longer time goes on. And what's even more interesting is you can try to ignore their existence, but the longer you ignore it, the heavier the baggage seems to get. And ultimately, the more damage it's causing. So the question you have to ask yourself is, where do I go to find relief from the stresses in life? Like, where do I go for relief?
Apparently I go.
Where can I go that is actually safe? We can create as many safe spaces as we want, but when you go home at night and you lay down on your pillow, where do you go for safety? Where do you go for relief? Now, I'm going to talk to you today about a subject that's going to sound so cliche, but just stick with me because I think it'll make sense. But what I want to talk about today is that we can find relief by finding God. Very simply. You can find relief by finding God. Now, to talk about this, I want to talk about a couple characters in the Bible, really, but I want to talk about David, who we're in the series of Psalms. He wrote many of the Psalms that we read. These are songs. You heard it in the video. David's an interesting guy because before he became king, there's a guy named Saul who was king. Now, the Israelites were never meant to have a king. Okay, you read the Old Testament. If you grew up in the church, you got the felt board, and it's like King Saul, King David, Goliath. Okay, excellent. Israel was never supposed to have a king. Okay, what happened was they got to the promised land, they started interacting with all these other countries, and they realized all these other nations have kings. And they tell Samuel, who was the one guy who could hear from God and deliver the news, they basically said, give us a king so we can be like everybody else. This is never the intention. Give us a king, we want to be like everybody else. Samuel tried to argue it. He's like, listen, I don't think we want to go down this road. If you haven't noticed, it's very dysfunctional in those other places. And they're like, no, you stop. We want a king like everybody else. So God actually, he concedes to this wish of theirs. God knows it's not going to work. He knows it's going to be an absolute disaster. So he's like, okay, give him a king. God picks Saul to be the king. Now, Saul's a very interesting character in the Bible because what you'll notice about Saul, if you read through 1 Samuel and the account of Saul, Saul was culturally, he looked like a cultural icon. I mean, this dude was handsome. He stood head and shoulders above everybody else. Like, he was easy on the eyes. He's like one of those guys. Like, you just pick him, you know? It's like, oh, king, obviously, you know? And so, but Saul, he always planned without God consistently in his life. Saul planned without consulting God. There's stories of the Israelites fighting, and while his soldiers are fighting, Saul would be hiding. Saul was the type of guy who would hide before he fights. Not a good look. He lived always on his heels. He was not an anticipatory king at all. Always on his heels, never on his toes. And then the worst thing about Saul is that his insecurities dictated his next move all the time. His insecurities always dictated his next move. Now, you've got David. Now, Saul obviously isn't going to live forever. He needs a successor. So you got David. Now, David is this guy. He's one of 8 kids in this guy named Jesse's house, okay? Decent-sized family, I would imagine. 8 kids. Could you imagine that road trip? Holy cow. But anyway, David was the type of guy who he would much rather be in the fields, hanging out with sheep. He was a shepherd. He loved it. He loved being out there. He also loved music. He was an artist. So here's a guy who loved to work with his hands, also an artist, wrote really great music, and this was the dichotomy he lived in. Now, God tells Samuel, he's like, we're going to anoint a new king, and it's going to be in the house of Jesse. So they don't tell anybody, because if Saul finds out, because Saul's so insecure, if Saul finds out that they're anointing a new king, Saul's just going to kill everybody, okay? That's how Saul rocked. He was just like out of his mind. And so in secret, Samuel goes to Jesse's house, gets all the sons together, and he's going to anoint the king. There's only 7 of the 8. David's out in the fields. And Samuel's like, Jesse, the guy's not here who God wants. Like, do you have another son? Which is an awkward question. And Jesse's like, well, yeah, but he's out in the fields. It's like, well, don't you think that maybe we'd have all of them in here? And so David comes back. Sure enough, David is the guy that God wants. And so we anoint David king at a very young age. Nobody knows. Now, David finds himself working in the palace because, again, Saul's crazy, right? So Saul, every time he would get angry, the only thing that would calm him down was music. So David would basically go and play his harp for Saul, and that would calm Saul down because Saul literally was going insane. And so this all happens. David's working for the king. Things are going great. Now, there's a battle. There's a lot of background information. I'm having fun. Hope you are too. It goes somewhere, okay? So the Israelites and the Philistines now are fighting. If you grew up in the church, you know this story, but I promise you, it's not the underdog story that you think it is, okay? But it's another conversation for another day. Philistines, Israelites are fighting. There's a stalemate, all right? Because the stalemate's happening because this big guy, whose name they call him Goliath, comes out. He's like 7 foot, 8 foot, whatever. He's massive dude, probably good, 300 pounds or so, and just big. He's like, okay, here's what we're going to do. Hand-to-hand combat. Israel wins, Philistines become slaves. Philistines win, Israelites become slaves. Nobody moves. None of the Israelites moves. Saul's there. Saul's in his tent, though. He's like, I have zero time for this. I'm not going there. And so David comes. He's got 3 of his older brothers are fighting in this battle. David shows up to give them some food, see how they're doing. And when David's there, Goliath comes out. Now, when Goliath comes out, David's looking around, and literally there's a whole army of pretty fit dudes, and no one's moving. And David's like, what's going on? Like, why is no one doing this? And his brothers are basically like, relax, dude, go home, okay? And David's like, well, I'll just go fight him. Like, I don't care. Like, I'll go do this. And so David goes to Saul, and Saul, he tells Saul, I'm going to fight. And Saul's basically like, I don't know if that's a good idea. And David's like, no, seriously, I can do this. And Saul has given up so much. He's given up so much at this point that he thinks David cannot win the most important hand-to-hand combat fight that Israel's ever had. And Saul still says, yeah, sure, you go ahead. Like a good leader probably would be like, dude, relax, I'll go do it. But Saul's like, okay, go ahead, you can try. What Saul probably didn't realize was that David had already fought a lion and he had already fought a bear. Okay, now, listen, I know it's always like David and Goliath, like the underdog story, like they use it in sports. First of all, if a dude ever came up to you that was like 7 foot, 300 pounds and wanted to fight, and a lion came up to you who wanted to fight, who would you fight first? The dude. Every single time, the lion is going to rip you apart. But David killed a lion, and David killed a bear. The important thing here, which we're not talking about today, is sometimes the things you think are mundane are actually preparing you for the bigger things later. And in fact, when you actually take part in like the mundane stuff that is kind of gruesome and ugly and no one wants to be a part of, it actually makes your future like things a lot easier because you prepared yourself. So don't skip out and shortcut your journey because it feels bad, okay? Because he literally, within seconds, he kills Goliath. It was not even a fight. He threw one rock at the guy's head and he died, and Israel wins. Now, this is where it gets nuts for David, because now he's a national hero, and no one knows he's going to be king. And so he goes parading through towns, and people are chanting, Saul kills his thousands, and David his 10,000s. This is savage, first of all. Like, why are you saying it like that? Very mean, but they're doing it. And Saul goes irate. He has no idea that David's going to be king. And Saul loses it. Now he's like, his only goal is to kill David. I cannot have this guy messing with my time. I'm going to kill this dude. So now David is on the run. David goes town to town, cave to cave, hiding and running for his life with a couple ragtag friends that he pulled together. And this is David's life. For a few years, he's literally running for his life from a guy who's supposed to be his boss, his king, his protector. It's his best friend's dad. Like, he knows this guy. Like, they know each other. They're close. And now this guy's trying to kill him. And it's in that place, David's in a cave hiding, that we get many of the Psalms that are written. The Psalms are always written from usually a place of deep despair. And the chapter we're going to read together today, I believe, comes straight from one of his times in the cave. Now, they call this psalm, there's always like the heading before, not always, but many of them have a heading. This one's called a Miktam of David. No one even knows what Miktam means, okay? They think it's like a scholar or a musical term. But there's only like 8 psalms that are a Miktam of David. So they consider this a golden psalm. And here's what it says in Psalm 16. This is David. It says, "Keep me safe, my God, for in you I take refuge. I say to the Lord, you are my Lord. Apart from you, I have no good thing. I say of the holy people who are in the land, They are the noble ones, in whom is all my delight. Those who run after other gods will suffer more and more. I will not pour out libations of blood to such gods, or take up their names on my lips. Lord, you are my portion and my cup. You make my lot secure. The boundary lines have fallen for me in pleasant places. Surely I have a delightful inheritance. I'll praise the Lord who counsels me. Even at night, my heart instructs me. I keep my eyes always on the Lord. With him at my right hand, I will not be shaken. Therefore, my heart is glad, my tongue rejoices. My body will also rest secure. Because you will not abandon me to the realm of the dead, nor will you let your faithful one see decay. You make known to me the path of life. You will fill me with joy in your presence, with eternal pleasures at your right hand. Now, uncommon relief comes from finding God in the midst of our pain. Now, the first thing we see here is that you and I, we will need relief from our baggage. Like at some point, just so you know, newsflash, you will need relief. This is inescapable. Okay, now listen, because sometimes things get more painful before they get better. Okay, this is very important. This is very, if you've been here for a while, you know, like I got terrible knees. Okay, I've had 3 ACL surgeries because I'm just a mess. Okay, I don't think before I do things. I just go. And so I don't stretch, none of that stuff. Who's got time? And so I tear my ACL. Now, I'm 34, so at this point, I feel like my legs, I'm done. I don't need to be athletic anymore. I'm good. Like, I've done it, okay? I've played sports. And so I could have just lived with the surgery, without the surgery. I could have just gone, no ligament. Who cares? Like, I can walk. It's fine.
Really
I might be able to swing a golf club. Who cares?
Towards the end,
but
so
I decided to get
I should
surgery.
be all right
And
to do
because
that.
I knew
Okay,
I've
thank you.
had
I'll
2
be
of them,
quick.
so I know it's like horrible. It's like just a very frustrating thing because like now you've gone from walking, now I'm bedridden for like a week, and then you can barely walk you have to use crutches for 2 months. It's just horrible. And then you have to go to physical therapy. Now what I decided to do is I have a friend, his name is Dr. Rob Lucky. He's got a sports clinic, and I'm thinking like athlete, perfect. And so it's the Pittsford Performance Care, it's called, and it's really just a place to get tortured is really what it is. And so if you've never been to him, he sets you up on these electrical things. It's like insane. I would show videos, but I don't think I ever went through it without like swearing at him. So it's just, something I'm working through. And so, but he puts you on, and like literally it's like electrocuting you. It's great, but it's making your muscles work and everything, like super painful. But now, after I've gone through all that, like I can go run, I can play basketball. I would never do it, but I could. I can go golfing, all that stuff, virtually pain-free. You realize that you do need relief. Like at some point, you are going to go through pain, and that is okay. Like sometimes pain is actually okay. And now David in Psalm 16 has clearly found himself in a dangerous spot. Because he opens it. There's no preamble. There's no setup. There's no like, hey, God, like, how's your day going? Dear Jesus, I just, like, thank you for a great day. He's like, God, keep me safe. Like, just cut to the chase. I'm in a dangerous situation. Keep me safe. If you're David, you're thinking to yourself, I was anointed king. Nobody wanted me. I worked for the king. I literally killed the guy who was holding our army up. Like, I saved the nation. Now he's running for his life from the very guy who's supposed to protect him. This is an absolute roller coaster of emotion, and he needs relief. There's no way around it. Have you ever been in that place where you desperately need relief? Here's what you need to know. It is okay to not be okay. Like, that is okay. Like, God actually created the capacity for emotion. This was not by accident that we get sad. Grief is not a mistake. It is not by accident that sometimes we get angry. It is not by accident that sometimes life is actually really difficult. It is okay to not be okay. The worst part is that sometimes we believe that the fact that we need relief is like a lack of faith. You know what I mean? Like, and if you've ever surrounded yourself with people, they'll say like, oh, you're not doing well, you just need more faith. You just need to build your faith. You just need better faith. And it's like, well, no, maybe it's not okay. And that's okay. Like, it's okay to not be okay. I don't think God is scared of our emotion. If you read Psalms, God is clearly not scared of our emotions. In fact, he embraces the emotion. And so you've heard it said, like you're going through a valley or you're going through a tunnel and there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Oh, love that phrase. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. Like, and it's like, I was listening to a podcast, and this guy was like, okay, so you've heard the phrase, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. He's like, have you ever been in a tunnel? There's lights inside the tunnel. Let's start focusing on the lights that are inside the tunnel. And this is a real thing. Because usually we walk around and we'll literally, you walk out here, you like walk with your baggage around life. And it would be so odd if this was like the way I carried my stuff around, you know, like in everyday life. But we're figuratively doing this all the time. You walk around with so much baggage, everybody can see it, and you act like it's not there. You act like you're not carrying around the baggage and the weight that you're carrying for fear that people might see you differently for actually be going through a hard time right now. But the reality is, it's okay to not be okay. Rather, let's invite the pain essentially to our table. Let's like invite it in, and let's just ask, like, hey, maybe God wants to put some purpose to the pain. Like maybe God actually wants to create a story out of the pain that we're going through. Because really what happens is the journey that you're on, it either becomes like the story of how God has been faithful, or you just kind of live in it and it becomes your identity. You only get really two options here. It either becomes your identity, you live in it, or it's a story of God's faithfulness that got you through it. So anyway, our baggage. So you invite the pain in, emotion is okay. We all are going to need relief. Here's the other thing. Everyone will try to find relief. Everyone tries to find relief. It's just the nature of humanity. David says in verse 4, those who run after other gods will suffer more and more. It's essentially like David is saying, everyone is searching for relief. They're running to anything. You realize like idolatry is a lot closer than we like to admit, first of all. So like people are running to anything for any semblance of relief. Now, I've got a suitcase up here, so obviously I'm talking about travel way too much. I did not process the vacation, apparently, because I'm just like, wow. I'm just kidding. It was great. We loved it. We did have a lot of fun. Yeah, it was great. It's 3 kids. Why wouldn't it be fun? So I did drive home, like with our family. We drove together. It was phenomenal until I made it not so phenomenal. This is just how I am. So when you set up your GPS in your car, okay, people, if you're not like this, you should get like this. It'll save you a lot of time. It's going to give you an estimated time of arrival. Oof. That is the best game on the planet. I'm like, how much time can I shave off? I'm thinking it's a 14-hour drive. This is going to be crazy. We're going to shave off like hours from this thing because I'm going to go. And then down south, like the mile per hour is like 70, so you can go like 84 and it doesn't even matter. It's like, we're just in this thing. So dangerous. 3 kids in the car. It is what it is. And then you hit DC and it's instant traffic jam. It is like, and oh my gosh, I just go irate. And you see it coming because the number goes from green to red. And so you know, like, hell is on the way. And so, like, it's true. And so we stop. We stop for McDonald's because I'm thinking, like, we'll do a quick stop, and then we'll get back on the road. That's what we're going to do. But apparently McDonald's is just short-staffed everywhere right now. And so what should have been 5 minutes took, like, what I say is an hour and a half. Esther says it was 20 minutes. But it's a debate. It's a debate in the house. Okay, and so now I'm just frustrated. I'm like yelling at the kids as if it's their fault that we didn't get our stuff on time. It's just bad. Yeah. Oh, someone said, oh, yeah. They're being strengthened, and so and so we get in the car, and Esther's like, you need to relax. I was like, well, look at the time. We've lost an hour. Like, we can't. And then they've got the express lanes, and I live for those. They're made for people with kids because it literally says 2-axle vehicles, more than 2 people. And I'm like, we're in. We are like at the super express lane. And so get in. Evidently, the ones near DC are like 1 lane right now. And so now you're behind a slow person. And now it's like, this is the express lane. You're supposed to speed on this road. Like, go. And I'm just getting so frustrated. It's like, give me any other route and I will take it. Literally do anything to make this go faster. I don't want to be in this car anymore. Just please make it go faster. What's amazing is that we are all searching for relief. Everybody, no matter what you're going through, if you're not careful, your first instinct will be, please make it stop. Like, get me out of this pain as quickly as possible. Everyone is searching for relief. Could you imagine what David could have done to not be in the predicament he was in? He didn't have to go bring his brothers the food that day. He could have just been like, they'll be fine. They don't really like me anyway. Like, they will be fine. He could have. There was moments if you read through the account of 1 Samuel, there are moments where he's hiding in a cave and Saul literally comes into the very cave. And the guys that are with him are like, dude, just go kill him right now and this is done. You're already the next king. Make it faster. And David's like, no. I'm not going to dishonor like God's appointed. And it's like he could have gone so many different routes to shortcut this thing. But David didn't do it. Do you realize that there are things that you and I will try to do to find relief? And we're consistently, every day, we're filling our bags with more baggage. Like, it's actually getting heavier. This is a problem. And so we will do anything we can. So we will we will self-medicate through alcohol, through drugs. If we're not careful, we could become addicted to things.
We have about 10 minutes left in the
anything
message.
to get me out of this pain. We'll look at our families and we'll realize that the marriage is so to the point where it feels unsavable in my own finite thinking that now when you go to bed at night, you're thinking through ways, how can I end this thing faster? You're thinking through ways like maybe in my life I would get some semblance of relief if I just go and cheat on my spouse. At least then I'll have a moment of relief. We'll think through all these things. Maybe you turn to your circle of friends and you're just looking for anybody to enable you in your pain. Anybody to tell you, like, yeah, they're out of their minds, they're wrong, you should go get them, get what's yours, do your thing. We'll look for anything for some semblance of relief. And your conscience is going to force you to that place. You have to ask yourself, who is in the driver's seat of your emotions? Who is in the driver's seat of your emotions? Because it's okay to not be okay. But don't let pain, the season of pain, suffocate the fact that God is with you. Don't let it suffocate your faith to the point that you no longer realize that God is with you. Like, God is actually for your marriage. God is for your health. God is for your family. You cannot live in the land of pointing the finger at the only sustainable thing in this life, and that is God. Because again, only God can give your baggage the relief that it needs. Only God can give your baggage the relief that it needs. This is what David says in verse 2. Very simply, I say to the Lord, you are my Lord. Apart from you, I have no good thing. He just starts by saying, keep me safe. I need refuge. And he says, apart from you, I have no good thing. In verse 5, he goes on and he says, Lord, you alone are my portion and my cup. You make my lot secure. It would have been so easy for David to attribute the evil he was going through to God. He easily could have just pointed his finger at God and how dare you put me in this season? Like, how dare you do this? I'm young. I've got a full life ahead of me. And now because of what you have done, you've put me in this cave. David never turned to God for blame. He understood that all good things come from God. And that's what makes this thing so impactful, because none of us would have batted an eye if he was like, God, why would you do this to me? I cannot believe you put me in this predicament. We would have been like, yeah, it's very human. That's like, yeah, totally. The thing that makes this so impactful is David knew the only sustainable relief that he can find in his life is if he finds refuge in God. The only thing that can bring peace to the chaos that was surrounding him was God. God is not the author of your chaos. He's actually the only one who can bring peace in the midst of your chaos. God is the only one that can do that. You realize that relief is not the result of ignoring the hard stuff. This is like the big paradox, because like the relief, you can actually find relief in the pain. Sometimes you actually need to live in the pain in order to find the relief. This is the paradox of relief. So the question is, can you trust the sovereignty of God? And what journey are you trying to shortcut? What journey are you shortcutting? If David would have skipped all of his shepherding time, when the bear came out, he easily could have said, take a couple sheep. I'm cool. Like, I really don't need them. Like, take a few. Like, we've got so many. Like, he could have done that. But he literally stepped into the mouth of the lion and did what he needed to do in that season. Maybe you're looking for relief in all the wrong places. You see, idolatry, it happens when a thing becomes the primary source of your relief. When anything other than God becomes your primary source of relief, you've stepped into worshiping that thing. It's so sad when people walk around with their pain and or with their baggage and they've given up. Maybe you know people like this. They give up. And they're like, we've tried that. I've tried. It's just, honestly, it's just not comfortable anymore. You know, what really happened is we fell out of love. And you're thinking, I don't even understand that. It's a choice, but different conversation. And you watch people where the life just slowly slips out of their eyes. Like, you can see it. You know the people, and you've probably been in seasons where it feels like, I just cannot do this. I'm going to be. And so then what you do is you uproot.
About 5
you
minutes
leave.
remaining.
You figure something out. Maybe you need a new relationship. Maybe you need a new job. Maybe you need a new city. Maybe you need a new church. And you have never really dealt with the baggage that you're carrying with you. But there's always that moment, right, when you change scenery where everything feels like, oh, this is nice. I can do this. And it's as if it's like you've left, like you've gotten a few meters away from your baggage, and you're like, oh, this is kind of nice. I'm feeling a little free. And it feels like within minutes, you take a couple breaths in this new area, and it's right back. The same stuff you were struggling with, the same stuff you were dealing with, the same stuff you were holding on with. All that happened was you gave your baggage a new environment in order to thrive in. You know what I mean? Because you're not actually dealing with the stuff. You're looking at all the things you can control. You said, I'm going to change all those things, and it's going to give me relief. You sometimes cannot shortcut the journey that maybe God has you on. Anyway, so very important. God wants us to have uncommon relief in the midst of our pain. That's what he wants us to have. And the crux of this whole chapter comes in verse 6. Now, this is David. Now, I love what he writes here. In verse 6, he says, the boundary lines have fallen for me in pleasant places. Surely I have a delightful inheritance. The boundary lines have fallen in pleasant places. Surely I have a delightful inheritance. And Najee, you can play a little bit. You have to picture David in this moment. David is probably, when he writes this, sitting in a cave. Like, that's how I like to picture him writing this psalm. He's probably in a cave. If you can picture this scenario, it's probably dark, it's probably wet, it's probably crowded, it's probably scary. In his own mind, he's probably super confused on what's going on. He felt like his plan was pretty secure. They're going to anoint me king. I killed Goliath. I'm going to be king. This is going to be awesome. Like, it's a great succession plan. Saul loves me when I play. Everything has gone absolutely haywire. And now he's sitting in a cave. This doesn't add up. You could say this is truly not fair. Like, it should not be this way. And in the midst of this dark, gloomy space, David writes, my boundary lines have fallen in pleasant places. They've fallen in pleasant places. He says, surely I have a delightful inheritance. Now, do you realize that when Saul became king, it literally says that he has the same inheritance as God. Like, Saul has the same inheritance as God. You are partaking in God's inheritance. Saul could have wrote this chapter early on in his life. My boundary lines have fallen in pleasant places. Surely I have a delightful inheritance. What you see from the life of Saul is he consistently allowed his pain to dictate his future. Consistently. And now David is in this space and he's saying, surely my boundary lines have fallen in pleasant places. Isn't it amazing? The same guy who wrote Psalm 23, that even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I'll fear no evil because you are with me, is the same guy who writes, surely my boundary lines have fallen in pleasant places. Now, if he were saying this to the people around them, they would have been like, you need to, honestly, let's take some stock of where we're at. Okay, we're in this cave. We're not sleeping because it's uncomfortable. It's cold. It's dark. It's frustrating. You keep saying no to killing the very thing that can actually get you through this. This is not delightful, and it's not pleasant. But David's like, no. You don't understand. My boundary lines have fallen in pleasant places. God is going to use this for something. This is going to be a story. Now, you realize that we are all carrying baggage. Every single person in this room. Now, you may have come today and you don't think anybody else is dealing with what you're dealing with. I'm here to tell you, everyone is carrying baggage. You may be watching online right now. Everyone is carrying baggage. You may be at the Albion Extension watching service right now. Everyone around you is carrying baggage. Every single person. Our tendency, though, is to downplay it. It's going to downplay.
We got to figure out how.
And we're not going to talk about it that much. We think we're the only ones with the baggage, so we'll do that. No one gets me. No one knows how far I've gone. No one knows how broken I really am. And so then we're the only ones. Or we pretend like we don't have any. I'm cool. And so you show up to church on a Sunday, you get out of your car, and you dust it off a little bit. You got to wipe it down. Tell your kids, you slap them a couple times, like smile on the way in, because they can't know. They can't know that we're going through it. And so you get it, the whole family ready. You haven't said one nice thing to your wife all morning, but man, we're going to church, so hold my hand. You don't interdigitate, you don't do the whole thing, but we're holding hands because we love each other. And you think the crazy thing is we make ourselves believe that we're fooling people.
Okay, team, we're going to go back into worship before we do close.
Everybody knows that you're dealing with something. Everybody knows that it's okay to not be okay. We just don't like to admit it for ourselves. And so the question is, where are you going to go with your baggage? What are you going to do to find any semblance of relief? And you might think, okay, the Psalms, Josh, are an Old Testament thing. Well, when Jesus came, when he first started his ministry, he looks at the people of Israel, who David was writing to a few hundred years earlier. And he literally says to them, "Come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest." He saw the oppression of a government. He saw the oppression of religion. He saw the oppression of rules. And he said, hey, you guys are stressed out. You're anxious. You're full of anxiety. Life is giving you more than you can handle. So why don't you come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. I don't know what you have tried this week to find relief. I don't know what you and your wife have done to try to find some help in your marriage this week. And maybe you've given up years ago, but you know it's going to totally break up your family. Maybe you haven't slept together in a couple years. I'm here to tell you that there is relief at the feet of Jesus. Maybe you're suffering from addiction, which is a real life disease that definitely should be talked about more in churches. I'm here to tell you today that there is relief at the feet of Jesus. For sure. Get all the professional help that you need because it's good, okay? We found out 3-4 years ago, I have ADHD, shocking. And so we're dealing with it. But bring your baggage to the feet of Jesus, the one whose yoke is easy and his burden is light. Stop trying to carry the weight that you were never meant to carry. The whole point of this thing is that we need Jesus because that is way too cumbersome. You are over encumbered by the weight of what you are carrying. So why don't you just pause tomorrow morning and say, God, we need a miracle. We desperately need relief. God, keep our marriages safe. It's in you that we take refuge. At some point, you have to realize the shouting matches aren't going to do it. At some point, you have to realize that sleeping in separate rooms isn't going to really do it. God, keep us safe. It's in you that we take refuge. Tomorrow morning, just sit down and read Psalm 16. Apart from you, I have no good thing. Apart from you, I have no good thing. And lay down your baggage at the feet of Jesus. Uncommon relief comes when we open our hearts to everything that God is. Let's pray together. God, we thank you that you are good. We thank you that your Holy Spirit is here and he is with us. So God, it's in moments where we find ourselves at the end of our ropes, truly at the end of ourselves. God, I pray that today that you'd make us honest, you'd make us vulnerable. Remind us that it's okay to not be okay. And God, right now we ask that you bring freedom to lives this morning. Those who are struggling with addiction, God, I pray that your Holy Spirit would come and you would do what only you can
Justin,
do.
give me a water, please.
Those
4
suffering
and
from thoughts of
6
self-harm, God, I pray that you
4
would come and do what only you can do.
1
Bring peace
4
to the midst of chaos.
1
Jesus, we thank you that your yoke is easy.
Going to 2.
Your burden is
4
light. We thank you for all of it in Jesus' name.
Come on.
Amen.
U-turn morning, everybody. U-turn.
And go into worship.
U-turn. 4 1
Ready 2. Going to 2.
You're the only.
Ready 1.
U-turn morning to dancing.
Ready 2. Going to 2. Ready 5. Going to 5. 3. Going to 3. Ready 2. Going to 2.
U-turn Graves. Real big. U-turn Graves.
Ready 1. Going to 1. Ready 4. Going to 4 now. Ready 2. Going to 2. Ready 1. Going to 1.
You're the only. Tag it. Tag. You're the only.
Look for
Rubber
Jenny
time.
coming up.
You're the only.
Ready
Down.
1.
Down. 1.
Go to 5.
And go for close.
4. Celebrate 1.
I am so thankful
Or,
that we are in this
1.
series, and Josh, you just took it to an incredible place. So thank you so much.
6 4
And I just want to
1.
remind
Camera,
you
Mike.
guys as you are
4
heading out, this
Sorry.
Wednesday is First Wednesday, and we would love to see you there. It starts at 7 p.m., but we would love to see you there. Until we see you, whether if it's Wednesday or Sunday, have a great week, church.
Going to 5.
And go for close.
4.
Thanks, everyone. Just a reminder,
U-turn.
meeting on stage.
Go, band. 1.
Thanks again.
Over and out.
4. Six, 4, 5, tag, 6, 4. On me, 5, right here, ending at 6, 4, 1, 4, and 1, and right here. Maverick City and Elevation. Yo, this is like the third time this has happened to me, where like I would swallow and spit would go down the wrong pipe. I literally almost died.
Don't do that when you're eating spicy food.
I don't know what happened then. I don't know what happened. I'll be like, can I?